practices of SGBV, which include, among others, defilement, rape, female genital mutilation, and gender assaults. Speaking during the launch of the court in Shanzu, Mombasa, Chief Justice Martha Koome expressed optimism that the new courts will ensure that victims of such harmful acts get justice. She directed the courts to implement the no adjournment policy when it comes to SGBV cases, amid concern that 56% of adjournment of cases was occasioned by external parties, for the reason that witnesses or parties failed to turn up to the courts, sentiments echoed by her deputy Philomena Mwilo. Now, a lobby group is protesting alleged police brutality in the ongoing crackdown on border operators. The NGO, in a letter to the Inspector General of Police, is calling for restraint and a stop to the alleged violations of human rights by police, even as they enforce the nationwide operation in line with the directive issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday. President Kenyatta ordered the crackdown following an incident on the eve of International Women's Day that saw a female motorist assaulted in the city. The organization said it had not only received complaints and reports from several operators, but also had documented evidence of acts of violence. And Deputy President William Ruto is not the outright presidential candidate for the United Democratic Alliance Party. The party's Secretary General Veronica Maina said that the party has two other Kenyans who have expressed interest to fly the UDA flag in the August 2022 elections. In the communique, Maina noted that the three will undergo presidential nomination interview tomorrow. According to Maina, the National Delegates Congress has been scheduled for March 15, 2022 at Kasarani Indoor Arena. And Kenyan Member of Parliament Kanini Kega has warned Deputy President William Ruto against propagating divisive politics in Mount Kenya region ahead of the August general election. Speaking in Nanyuki town, Kieni MP says Jubilee Party members have regrouped to ensure that the region is in support of President Uhuru Kenyatta's endorsement of Raila Odinga as the fifth president. Kega drummed up his support for Raila Odinga's presidency, terming him as a credible leader who will enhance economic growth in the country. This as Azimio la Umoja will be taking its campaigns to Kisumu County. Raila's visit is expected to attract his supporters as local politicians are advised to set aside their differences, since today's campaigns is to announce Raila's policies to the run-up to the presidency. Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, his Siaya counterpart Colonel Rasanga, and James Ongwae of Kisii have warned supporters of political leaders out to incite violence during today's visit. And health workers in Mombasa have been forced to end their 4-day strike after the Employment and Labour Court issued orders to have them resume work immediately. Justice Agnes Kitiku directed that the health workers resume work and further directed that the orders and application be served upon the Health Workers Union and the matter be mentioned on the 23rd of March 2022. Mombasa County moved to court on March 8, 2022, seeking orders to stop the health workers from continuing with the strike that commenced on March 7th over salary dues for January and February and 5-month statutory deductions. Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Mombasa Branch Chairperson Hassan Mkuche, in a letter asked all the members to obey the order and return to work. And the Airports Council International has recognized Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the Moi International Airport in Mombasa as the best airports in Africa. The council, which is mandated to advance the collective interest of airports globally and access service quality, hailed the two top Kenyan airports for their excellence and service delivery. ACI noted that the award was a result of surveys and analyses carried out through the 2021 period where the COVID-19 virus had crippled the transport sector. This as Newswire continues to urge us all to continue observing the COVID-19 protocols. Remember to wear your mask. Most importantly, maintain the social distance and also go get inoculated against the COVID-19 vaccine so that you may protect yourself, those that you love, and the entire public, because taking care of yourself is taking care of those that are close to us. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, what's happening on the roads this morning? It's already beginning to look like it would look like. It's a Friday. So Mombasa Road, just a slight build-up around Syokimau and Mlolongo coming up towards town, but the other roads are looking okay. Makadara is a bit busy on Jogoo Road, heading towards the Lusaka Road roundabout and then into town, but Thika Road is looking good. Kiambu Road is looking absolutely beautiful. Westlands Wayaki Way is looking very good, and all the other main roads are looking good. But let's see how it'll be looking like in about half an hour, shall we? Anything that you think we ought to talk about? SpiceFM KE is where to send us the information.
Spice FM, Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
It's 9
Room.
minutes after 6. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. It is Eric and CT. Ndu has begun her weekend early. And CT, good morning.
Morning, Eric.
How you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Kabisa?
Maridadi.
Very good. It's good to have you here on the show, my brother.
Asante sana ndugu.
Tunashukuru Mungu.
Niseme asante sana kaka.
Tunashukuru Mungu sana
Sana.
kwa kipaji cha uhai.
That also.
Yes. Welcome to the Situation Room, wherever you tuned in. Happy Friday. It's the 11th day of March, 2022. We'll have some interesting conversations. So at 8 o'clock, join us as we have a conversation about COVID-19. Are we kicking the cans 2 years down the road? So what are we still doing about COVID-19? Are we addressing the matters as we should? We'll be joined by the Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Dr. Devji Atela. We'll also have Reverend Elias Agola, who's the National Council of Churches of Kenya from the NCCK. We'll also have Joa Bokanda, Pan-Africa Senior Advocacy Advisor at Christian Aid. That's a conversation that we ought to have. So yes, we've been talking about dealing with COVID-19 all this time, but how exactly are we doing in terms of addressing all the concerns that we wanted to address? Are we doing well, or are we not doing well? At 9 o'clock, we had a conversation earlier about the Higher Education Loans Board and the fact that there are some former students who are really suffering because of how much they ought to pay to the Higher Education Loans Board now. And we pledged that we're going to have the boss of the Higher Education Loans Board joining us. The CEO, Charles Ringera, comes in at 9 o'clock this morning to talk about eligibility, the charges that are being levied, and also they have these waivers that they have been campaigning, been running and telling us there's a penalty waiver by the HELB. So what is it? Why are they doing it? And let's just get to understand them. Ndio City.
Kabisa.
Yes, we shall look at COVID-19 in numbers now, and this is how we go about it. So the Ministry of Health is telling us that, let me open it. Ministry of Health of the Republic of Kenya, latest statistics in terms of vaccination around the country. So far, we've received some 27 million vaccines in the country. 17 million doses have been administered. People who are fully vaccinated, 7.7 million. And this is about 28% of the adult population in the country has received the full dose of the COVID vaccine. Some 261,000 people have gotten their booster doses. Have you had your booster dose, City?
Not yet.
Not yet. Huh?
Have you?
Neither have I. Not yet gone for my booster. Yesterday, the cases that were reported yesterday, the 10th of March, we had 11 new cases of COVID-19 from a sample size of 4,900 people. That brings the positivity rate to 0.2%. Can you imagine? 0.2%.
Yep.
When people say COVID imeisha,
You know, there's one thing to say something and there's another thing for it to be so. It is the narrative. I've heard so many people telling me COVID imeisha, and I'm hard pressed to tell them haijaisha. Haijaisha. But I think also those statements are a reaction.
but what do you think they mean when they say COVID imeisha? Are they meaning it in the technical term of we have eradicated COVID?
No, it means we are no longer, there's no need for...
It's not an immediate threat. It's not a direct
we no longer
and
need
immediate
to, we no
threat.
longer need to be fearful. The death threat has gone, and we can go back to normalcy. It is more a cry for normalcy, and then a complete belief that, or an understanding that COVID has ended. I think they know full well it hasn't, but it's the danger they're referring to.
Yeah.
They are saying that the danger has now passed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think they'd be right to say that.
Yes.
With a positivity rate of 0.2%, boss.
It has passed, but it hasn't.
Well, it's operated below 1% for this year.
It has. It has. It has. It has. You see, the science world needs to explain to us why this is happening. They need to correlate this with examples of what else one can expect. Okay? Yes, the vaccines have been effective, but there's a lot about COVID that we still need to understand. Because how many diseases have we been told have been eradicated and then they rear their heads again?
Yeah.
And this one is not one of these diseases where you'll find it cloistered in one particular geographical space. It spreads. So the likelihood of it spreading is always an imminent threat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It is. The likelihood of it, re-emerging in another serious wave.
It's always
It's
imminent.
always there.
Because if we had Omicron, which was a mutation, what stops another mutation from actually coming into play?
But then what do you do to avoid that?
You know, one of the things you do...
Because you really cannot say, with such a low positivity rate, you cannot really say that you need to have those very strict measures of avoid social gatherings, avoid socialization, you must do this, you must do the other. What can you do?
One of the things that I think is always desirable but always almost impossible to achieve is to have an attitude of preventativeness, meaning you take a posture that gives you a very high likelihood of not being at the forefront of contracting a disease, meaning your behavior and everything that you do, avoid. And it's basics. Washing hands. Basics. Nothing complicated. Making sure your hands are clean. Making sure, for instance, if you are sneezing, you cover your nose and mouth. Basic thing. And when you've done that, you're washing your hands. Things that you can actually do. Now, when you do these basics, the likelihood of any disease spreading is reduced significantly. But we don't. Someone sneezes into hands, then wants to shake your hand. And you know how involuntarily we often touch our faces, we often touch our noses, we touch our mouth, we touch our eyes involuntarily. Now, people then wonder how it is that diseases spread. You touch a surface, the next thing, and you don't know what that surface was all about. The next thing, you're touching your nose, you're touching your mouth.
It's life, City. I mean, that's...
Precisely.
That is normal life.
It is normal life, and that is why diseases are what they are, and that's why they're able to proliferate so easily.
That's why we live with the diseases.
Yes, we do. And the others we can live with by knowing how not to get them.
Okay.
Why are children taught to wash hands from a very early age? And then there are those who argue, children play in dirt. Well, sooner or later, they develop an immunity for whatever microbe may have been in the vicinity, okay? That argument makes sense. Even scientifically, it makes sense. However, COVID broke very many rules of understanding because it was doing things that nothing had ever done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a quick break. It's 17 after 6. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE on YouTube and Facebook. Are you online? If you are, say hello to us. We'll be doing our roll call this morning shortly after we take a look at the weather forecast.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
Nairobi is currently 17 degrees. It's been hot in Nairobi, man. What? It's 17 degrees at 6:15. That tells you. So the temperature is going to rise to 28 later today and drop only to 16 at night. Mombasa, 26 degrees currently. It's going to rise to 32 and then drop to 25. Western Kenya, in Eldoret, it's going to go to 27 and then drop to 11. Kakamega, 34 and lows of 14. Malindi, 31 the highs, lows of 25. The coolest is going to be in Malindi is 25 degrees. That's maybe at 3 a.m. Jeez. Nakuru, 30 highs, lows of 13. Kisumu, 32 and lows of 18. Going around East Africa, Kampala, Uganda, 29 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 32, lows of 27. Kinshasa, DRC, 32 and 22 with some light rains. Around the world, in New York, it's currently 5 degrees. It's clear. It's going to drop to 1 and then rise to 11. Lurambi, in Dongshan, that's Beijing, China. It's hazy. Temperatures will rise to 13 and drop to 5. London, the UK, temperatures will rise to 12 and drop to 11 with clear skies. And in Nigeria, 28 degrees for Lagos and 34 highs and lows of 27 with mostly clear days.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
So it's 20 minutes after what? After 6. And there are people who are already online. So, for example, the person who's online here, let me just tell you shortly, is Makadero Mike. Good morning. Kisumu is well tuned in. Good morning. Benapudo, good morning. Situation Room, I'm back watching from Sigomore, Siaya County. Caroline Ogenga watching from and listening to the great trio from Kisumu Dala. Sigomore.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It's a place.
Where is it? It's in Siaya. Where?
It's in Ugenya.
Ah.
Yes.
Siaya Ugenya. Okay. Priscilla Guladia. Good morning. Where are you tuned in from this morning? Also from Eldoret is Collins Kimtai Kipsat. This is Heron. Good morning. Kisumu is well tuned in. Eddie says, it's a good morning to you. Sure, I am upset that politicians are already politicizing the government efforts to streamline the border sector. Politicians are openly inciting borders against the government.
That's the allegation, is it?
Yeah. Himaki Nandi following the show with my wife Gladys. That's George Kiplagat. Good morning, George. George MCR, James Muli Kimanzi. Hi, guys. Tuned in from Nyali 001. Good morning to you. Daniel Jamhuri is also tuned in. Odero Jr. representing the Great Wall of Kino as usual. Pauline Shiromungai. Thank God it's Friday. Tuned in. Ben Wamacha. Macha is well tuned. George Tall. Good morning. Tuned in from Kisumu, Europe. And Collins Kiptai Kimsat, we've already said. A very good morning, everybody who's tuned in this morning. It's Eric and CT. Ndu is away today. She'll be back, hopefully, on Monday. CT?
Yes.
It's the proverb.
Yes, from Western Sahara. If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
If you're what and what?
If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
Good stuff.
Good stuff?
Patient in a moment of anger.
Yep.
You will escape
100 days of sorrow.
Take your time. Take your time. It's a good one. Let's look at the paper headlines. Remember, Standard e-paper app. You get it from the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. And also you can get the content on www.standardmedia.co.ke. So, I think let's start with this one. Because we've just been talking about COVID-19. Remember the leakage from the Ministry of Health. That the Ministry of Health came and said, that is not from us. We have not told you. We will tell you when we tell you if we are going to lift those measures. The Ministry of Health has hinted at plans to review COVID-19 containment measures in the next few days. According to CS Mutahi Kagwe, relaxation and review of the measures are based on scientific advice in regard to spread of the disease and the country's preparedness in managing the pandemic. In an interview with the Standard, the CS said Kenya is currently reporting low positivity rate and that the population seems to have developed some herd immunity. Since the outbreak, the pandemic in March 2020, he says the ministry has been guided by science and evidence as per Kenya's infections rate and not what's happening in other countries. We are not doing what everybody is doing. We are getting details on hospitalization, expected hospitalization, oxygen supply, and if it is properly done, and not just waking up to say you want to do what others are doing. Let's have confidence in ourselves. Let's make decisions based on our own experience. It's coming. The lifting of those measures.
It was always coming. The likelihood of rumors in this country actually prefacing the truth that is on its way is usually very high. Yes. So if the minister decided to breathe life into the rumor and make it true, well, they are living up to the dictates that we normally expect from the government. You hear a rumor, it is denied vociferously, you give it time, lo and behold, it becomes the abiding reality and truth.
What I don't understand, though, is what exactly he's waiting for in the next couple of days. Is he waiting on a finalization of a report of... I don't know. Because we've had low positive... If we are following what we have been seeing in this country, we have had positivity rate below 1% for over 8 weeks.
Yes.
I could even dare say for months now, right? Low positivity rates, continued uptake of the vaccine, and you've seen the adult population, about 27% of adults are fully vaccinated. Then you look at the hospitalizations. Counties are reporting low hospitalization numbers. If you look at the stretch in our health facilities, low. If you look at people and how people are behaving, that's from the intelligence side. People are not wearing masks. People are not following social distancing. So people are living the life. And yet the positivity rate is still remaining low. What more could Mutahi Kagwe be waiting for?
I think what someone in Mutahi Kagwe's position would be afraid of is to lift all sanctions and then, lo and behold, a few weeks down the line, you hit with a sudden rise of disease. That will be a lot of egg in your face. So you want to talk to the scientists, people who know, so that when you speak, you will be quoting authoritative sources and saying, this is what we have been advised by authoritative sources. Given what COVID did, someone in the CS's position, you would not want to rush to giving a blanket overhaul of all the restrictions that were there.
It's okay, don't rush. But then how long will it take? It's not like the scientists are coming from abroad to come and do some sample testing in Kenya. They are here. They're the ones who've been managing the situation. They don't need new data. They have data on a daily basis.
They do. But how then do you communicate this to the citizenry so that it gives you the outcome that you actually want? Because you will say one thing, we will understand it in the way that suits us best. All I'm saying is that sometimes that hiatus, that wait, has its purpose. I may not understand it, but it has its purpose. Even if it's just, let's wait a while before we actually talk about it, for whatever reason. But the ministry would be cautious. Given the harm that COVID has caused, even when the experts tell you, the other people you may need to convince.
Okay. The other thing, though, is I'm sure the minister has been told that people lifted these measures a long time ago.
Oh.
So the government is just
even as the restrictions were in place, people were, the pushback was always there.
Yeah. This time, in terms of measures, so what are those measures? Number one,
social
distancing.
Wearing masks.
Okay. Okay. Children are back to school as normal.
Yes.
Government lifted that a long time ago.
Yes.
Government lifted the curfew.
Yes.
Yeah, a long time ago. The government has allowed mass transportation to resume as normal a long time ago. What are we waiting to see being lifted? It's just the masking and the requirement for...
But of significance, the police no longer harass people for those things. Even they realized, in fact, their own action indicates that they figured this thing has been lifted.
Yeah.
You don't hear of arrests for people who are not wearing masks or not doing the other. So
the longer he takes, the longer it will be for people. He'll come and announce and be like, what are you talking about? From today, you don't have to wear a mask. Huh?
we haven't been wearing a mask. You know, there's a question here that, of course, now begs to be asked and also begs a response. What contribution did the not wearing of mask make in the situation that we find? Because if we take the view that people not wearing masks or not adhering to the norms would mean a spreading of the virus, then the question that I'm actually asking is, if the virus was spreading freely, because people were not wearing masks.
Yep.
So what role has this played in what we now see?
Actually, you bring in a good point, Siti. These travel restrictions were lifted last year.
Yes, they were.
Okay?
Yes.
So people went back to mingling openly and freely.
And overcrowding in public
transport. And then we went into a new year and campaigns have gone and several notches higher.
We saw with the campaigns and we saw what was happening in those crowds.
So, what is it that we could credit to this low infection rate? Because it cannot be human behavior.
No, if you look at the percentage of our people who have been vaccinated, it's a small number.
It also cannot be vaccination.
It is not vaccination. Vaccination may have contributed, but it can't be at it. So then the story of herd immunity comes to mind. Okay? But that discussion about herd immunity we are not hearing it.
Yeah, it's always suppressed.
Yes.
It comes, it's mentioned, but then it's like we're fearing the scientists. If we say herd immunity,
what will it mean?
What will it mean?
And yet, the scientists ought to be able to explain this because there's been surveillance, they've been monitoring the disease, they've been monitoring the outcomes. More specifically, they've been looking at specimens. So what do the specimens? Because the specimens tell you a story.
Yeah.
What story are the specimens telling us? How have we responded to this disease?
There's no direct answer. Even what Dr. Patrick Amoth was saying the other day. So yes, there have been several variants spreading in the country. So people have been infected with the several variants and all. It's likelihood to be herd immunity. Same thing that Mutaikago is mentioning, herd immunity. But we just don't know. I mean,
remember what we've said in this studio on many occasions is that if there's one thing that we collectively understand about COVID is that we understand very little.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't know much.
No, we don't know much.
Let's take a quick break and take a look at the traffic. It's 6:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting from Nairobi to the world.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
To all the young women, the world is yours to discover and conquer. You are the future, leaders of your own world. Just like the women that came before you, it's your time to break the bias. Girls, run the world.
You are so much more powerful than you think. Hold your head up high.
Wherever my sisters left, I must take the mantle and run.
Never give up, keep fighting.
This week from the 7th to the 11th of March, join me, Yolanda Mulwa, and DJ Absolute on Sugar and Spice as we celebrate women, that is music by women, movies by women, and conversations that empower women.
Imagine for a Friday morning, it's still looking pretty good at 28 minutes to 7. So Mombasa Road is clear all the way until you just get to Imara Daima. This is where the construction is. The junction into Enterprise Road and Road C. That is where there's slight delay, but it's just so slightly. And then you come in all the way, smooth into Uhuru Highway, smooth into the CBD, up to Haile Selassie roundabout. That's where you find a bit of a snarl up. Jogoo Road, it's moving. Well, apart from Makadara, you know what always happens on Makadara. There are those bumps, but it's moving well. Coming into town, Landis Road is good. Haile Selassie Avenue through town is good. Now, let's go to Thika Superhighway. At Pangani, you know what usually happens there, and this is at the interchange with Kiambu Road and Muthaiga Road. It's starting to pile up just slightly, but it's not so bad yet on Mombasa Road. I'm betting that this one by 7 o'clock, it'll be much busier. Westlands is not looking bad at all. All the main roads, Langata Road as well, heading into town is not looking bad at all. Ngong Road is good. Anything that you think we ought to talk about, SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Let us know.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay.
94.4 Spice.
Hi, my friend. I'm looking at something fairly interesting. This is the headline. Well, it's not the headline. It's on the front page of the Star at the bottom. All right. The story is actually on page 23. Mandera residents share food with animals as drought worsens. The drought in Mandera has worsened to a point of residents sharing the little food with their livestock. Isaac Hapicha, Assistant Director of Drought Contingency Planning and Response of the National Drought Management Authority in Mandera, said they had been experiencing drought since last year and it's worsening. You know, I find that I cannot stop talking about the plight that very many of our countrymen and women are currently facing.
Yeah.
And situations that not just exist, but they just keep getting worse. Goats, cattle, camels, donkeys are now dying.
People are sharing food with their animals.
Yes, they are.
Like you said, it's something that is very big. And I've seen a related story. That's what I'm looking for. A story that is quoting the government spokesperson, Colonel Cyrus Oguna. Aid on the cards as 2.7 million Kenyans stare at hunger. So, government spokesperson Colonel Cyrus Oguna said in Kilifi yesterday that 680 million shillings has been set aside for a cash transfer program to supplement relief food supply in drought-hit areas. This is Kwale, Lamu, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Tana River, Turkana, Samburu, West Pokot, Baringo, Kajiado, Narok, Laikipia, Nyeri, Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Kitui, Marsabit, Isiolo, Wajir, Garissa, Mandera. What have we left out?
What?
I felt like I've gone around the country.
You have gone around the country. You've been to Rift Valley. You've been to Northeastern.
Yeah.
You have been to...
Sheesh, man.
Yes. You've been to the coast. And you see, the problem is, you're talking about areas that ordinarily need not be suffering from this particular plight. Not necessarily. The thing that I fail to comprehend completely is how it is, with the knowledge that these places are usually targeted by the vagaries of of weathers and climate change, that nothing is done not to forestall but to mitigate. And yet you know. And what makes it even worse is that there are allocations, budget allocations that are constantly given to each county for this. I mean,
if you read this story, you can see as it appears like the government is doing something. So, for instance, they say in Kwale County, which has at least 200,000 hunger-stricken people, they have received 78 million shillings. Residents there receive 3,000 shillings every month. Okay? Every month, 3 Gs. Kilifi has received 4,500 bags of rice, 3,600 bags of beans, targeting 10,000 residents. The government has spent some 350 million shillings to track water in the affected regions. Oguna says they are also off-taking livestock. It's ongoing. How come we don't see this? If indeed it's happening this way, it needs to be more highlighted more. The stories of NDCs and negotiations about political space, or a governor going back to resume office in Wajir after a court battle, that is what is dominating even the political landscape. Not the issue of these Kenyans, and I do not even think it's 2.7 million Kenyans. It has been 2.7 million Kenyans for a long time. The situation is worsening.
It has worsened, but more importantly, this is Band-Aid that is being given to somebody with not a fractured, but a completely broken leg. You see, why are you talking about patchwork when what is required is prevention? To ensure that when it does occur, the effects are minimized. We have a situation where money is being thrown at something, and yet the outcome is that it's worse. So what really is being done? See, that's the question. The government wants to be patted on the back for giving bags of rice. Bags of rice. This money that they're supposed to give the vulnerable is something that was supposed to be part and parcel of everyday life. But beyond that, beyond the money, livelihood, making sure that 3,000 shillings can actually be spread and it can actually enable the person to live a useful life. What are these efforts that are being made to ensure that food is affordable?
Yeah.
Okay? Because giving money, if a packet of unga, 1 kilo, costs, say, 400 shillings, that money you've given me is not going to be useful. It will be far more useful if you made sure that it was something like 50 shillings.
Plus, we know the government, this money does not come on time. It's supposed to be 3,000 shillings every month for, let's say, these residents of Kwale. Are they receiving this 3,000 shillings at the end of the month?
You talk to a relative who's supposed to receive it, and they'll tell you, it comes, then you wait, and then another. It's hodgepodge. It's here, it's not there. Let's put it this way: it is difficult to plan with it.
People don't know when the money is coming.
Yes, and the little time when people get it, because a similar story is being told of Marsabit and Wandera, that money is getting there. Look, why are you kicking such a big fuss about something you ought to have been doing anyway? Why are you making it sound as though you've done this great, wonderful thing? There's nothing great and wonderful about it. These are citizens of the country who are vulnerable, and they ought to have been receiving this help all along.
Yep.
Not until now they've received. So, what are you telling us?
And it's we're talking about vast areas here. We're talking about livestock, and this also will end up affecting the productivity of this region, and especially when we talk about our food security in terms of meat. What are we doing? The animals are dying. Animals are sharing food with their owners. This is sad
This article
story.
indicates that animals now come home for lunch.
My goodness.
They know when people eat, they also come to get their share. Now, it's madness.
And it's not like they're going anywhere anyway, even the animals.
That's their homestead. That's where they live also. They're part and parcel of those families.
It's a very, very, very painful story. Very painful story, though. And it needs to be given the other side. Okay? Boda bodas. Okay. So there were several people who were arrested over that incident of boda boda and other people who molested a female driver on Wangari Maathai Road a couple of days ago. 16 suspects who were arrested following the attack will be detained for a further 15 days to allow police to conclude investigations. So police went to court and they said, you know what, we have these suspects, and before we charge them, before they take a plea, please allow us to hold them for a couple more days as we conduct our investigations. So Milimani Principal Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe said, due to the great public interest in this matter, police will need ample time to do thorough investigations before preferring charges against the suspects. He said, I concur with the investigating officer, Inspector Livon Mwanzia, that police require ample time to interrogate the suspects, record witness statements, and conduct forensic analysis of the exhibits before arriving at the proper charges to prefer. The magistrate said police will record a statement from the diplomat who's undergoing treatment and counseling, issue her with a P3 form, examine CCTV footage, and interview witnesses in the next 15 days. And then police will then process and then determine whether the charges that they want to bring before them are going to hold. Because these people have said they are matatu drivers, they are conductors, they are fruit vendors, they are casual laborers, and not border riders. The people before court. They're being held for 15 days. The question is, do they need to be held for 15?
What are they being held for?
As investigations are done.
What investigations?
See, all those things. Witness statements, processing, looking at CCTV. So as a person is in cell, how are they aiding you with that any of that?
The question that I'm actually asking is, these mass arrests and with rumors of all manner of very heavy charges being levied on people who've been arrested.
Yep.
I'm told 30,000 is the asking price for you to be released if your motorbike or the motorbike you're found with is faulty. 15,000 if it isn't faulty. But the motorbike is not released. Now, what informs this amount, if indeed it is true that it is 30,000 50? What informs it? Suddenly, there's a crisis in the transport sector. But beyond the crisis of transportation, there's the crisis of livelihoods and families. Because one border rider is not the only person who benefits from that particular business.
Yep.
If they have a family, if they have parents, you just expand it.
Yep.
The moment you stop that person from earning a living, the livelihood of all those people also stops.
Yep.
So what really are you achieving? It's something I want to understand.
This crackdown, by the way, and I think let's even discuss it at 7 and open up the phone lines. We may even hear from border operators who can call in. Because there's an ongoing crackdown, yes, we see. Well, there's the arrest of the people who are suspected to have taken part in molesting the female motorists. They have gone there. Whether they are fruit vendors, matatu drivers and conductors and all, the question is, did they participate in molesting the lady? Different issue. Then there's now the crackdown. Because the president himself has said crackdown. Matiang'i has said you have how many days to join a SACCO? And all those things. So borders are just being pulled off the streets, left, right and center. And like you've said, arrested, for you to get out of police custody, you have to pay.
Yes.
And how much?
30,000. I'm told it's the asking price.
And this is when, if you're
if they say your motorbike has a few, maybe you don't have a helmet, blah blah blah. Everything
Something.
is yes, 30. If it is okay,
If the bike looks okay, it's brand new, it's spanking new, just got it from Skygo.
And you had a reflector jacket and a helmet,
15,000.
Yes.
But you leave the bike.
Although the bike stays for further inspection.
That means now you've parted with 15,000 shillings, but you have nothing to earn your livelihood with.
You know, it's not even parting with 15,000 shillings. The people who were talking to me, telling me, people are having to raise money from relatives so that people can be released.
Oh my goodness.
This now, somebody who was the breadwinner of the family has stopped earning money. The meager resources that they have are now being put together to get them released. Now, what exactly is being achieved? I understand the need to have an orderly transportation system. I understand it fully.
Yes.
But this, and the way they're going about it.
Because those two things are not necessarily going hand in hand. We understand the 14 days, get yourself into a SACCO, register a SACCO, go get inspected. If we were saying that all borders should now go for inspection between now and the next 30 days, go for inspection, okay. Give them, say we'll then start a crackdown on the 31st day from today.
Because they've been given an opportunity.
Because we've been given an opportunity and we've been told what we need to do. So at that point, now we start doing the operation. But this random...
No, this need to show that they're complying with what the president... Is that what the president said? The president said, pick up every motorbike that you lay your eyes on.
And ask for 30,000
Yes, is that what he said?
It's a strange one. We'll open up the phone lines at 7 o'clock. Let's hear from you and the effect of this. So there's already a direct effect. One, in terms of transport crisis.
There is a transport crisis already. And this is not in Nairobi, it's throughout the country. And to understand it, it also means alternate transport like Uber, the prices have shot up. Where I normally pay 460 shillings from my house to this studio here, today I paid 590.
130 shillings more.
Yes. And I asked, why? I was told, because...
higher demand.
Precisely. I was told there's higher demand. And we are just this same
the app just looks at higher demand and...
it calculates, it configures, and that's it.
Jeez, man. It's 13 to 7. Let's take a quick break.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources? Yet we have real challenges in this country.
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, what else are you looking at?
Hi, my friend. I'm looking at something particularly interesting. Let me just read it out for you so that you can... Remember there was this case of a lady. She was the director of finance, but was in an acting capacity in the judiciary for the longest time.
Yes.
And the matter went to court.
Matter also went to Parliament. Parliament had summoned the registrar.
Yes.
Chief Justice said you cannot just be summoning people willy-nilly.
Yes.
It was about the same issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, she sued the Judicial Service Commission for keeping her in acting capacity for 6 years. Then advertised the same position last year. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the courts have ordered the JSC to pay her 12 million shillings. Yes. This is, let me read it out. Justice Ndubanderi on Thursday found that it was degrading and humiliating to keep Ms. Oyatsi in acting capacity for years. The judge said the advert sent a wrong narrative that she was incompetent. The judge was of the view that failure by JSC to explain to Ms. Oyatsi why she had not been confirmed and why she had been deemed unsuccessful twice in 2015 and 2019 was unfair. Actually, think about it. You're in acting capacity. 2 cycles go by, you're not going. I mean, if you're not Why keep her?
So they advertise, you apply, you go through the interview process.
You're not.
Then they say it wasn't successful.
Yes,
they tell you continue
and
acting.
Now, surely, if you are not fit for the job, should they not remove you from that job?
Yeah. Why are you acting if you're not fit for it?
So,
you know. So now, what has the judge said?
He said that, he found that she was denied reasonable and fair conditions for employment. The petitioner was subject to undignified work conditions as compared to her peers, and a false narrative being sent out implied that she was incompetent and not deserving of the position she so diligently and ably graciously served for 6 years. But does this not make very simple sense? Why do you keep an incompetent person in a position for 6 years? If she's not suitable, if she can't be substantive, why keep her there?
Why keep her? So she gets compensation.
Yep.
How much?
12 million Kenya shillings.
Per. In total?
Total, Baba, total.
That is a good one. And does she get the job?
That isn't stated. There's something else here. The court heard that two of Ms. Oyati's male colleagues who were appointed to act, one as Director of Audit and Risk Management and the other Director of Planning, Organization and Performance, were promptly confirmed despite fact that they were appointed to act long after she had been acting in her position. Now you see, this is what lent. So how do you have these two people who are in an acting capacity being confirmed, and she has been acting longer and she has not been given the job? How do you explain this? Sexual bias, one could argue.
That's a lot of things.
Oh, it's many things.
It's very many things that you could actually lump into one because there's no explanation that's forthcoming. So you just go and put anything, see if it sticks on the wall. Hey, okay. Remember, there's a time when there was a story about Technical University of Kenya, formerly Kenya Polytechnic.
Yes.
And Technical University had entered into some agreement with the University of Nairobi to offer some degree programs accredited by the University of Nairobi. And these were engineering degree programs. And then after people have graduated, they go to register with the engineers board. The engineers board told them, what is this? BSc in what? No, we don't recognize that degree. Now, it's a bigger issue. Thousands of students are pursuing bogus engineering degrees, according to the story in the Standard in the Nation this morning. The fate of thousands of engineering students hangs in the balance after it emerged yesterday that 26 courses have not been accredited by the Engineers Board of Kenya, which means graduates cannot be registered as engineers and therefore they risk missing out on employment opportunities. Endelea na hiyo story.
Endelea baba.
There, where are those degrees? Which are those degrees? From the University of Nairobi, BSc Petroleum Engineering. JKUAT, BSc in Aerospace Engineering. BSc Chemical Engineering. BSc Materials and Metallurgy, Metallurgical Engineering. Egerton, BSc Civil and Environmental Engineering, Electrical and Control Engineering, Civil and Structural Engineering, Mechanical Engineering and Technology, Mechanical Manufacturing Engineering. Kenyatta University has Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering, Aerospace Engineering, Biomedical Engineering, Petroleum Engineering. Other universities also, Strathmore, BSc in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Murang'a University, Electrical and Electronics, Southeastern Kenya University, Agricultural Engineering, Civil Engineering, Electrical and Electronics, Mechanical Engineering. Machakos University, BSc in Civil Engineering, Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Mechanical Engineering. If you're in the University of Embu and you're pursuing a BSc in Civil Engineering, the Engineers Board does not know that you're doing that. The Dedan Kimathi University of Technology, you're pursuing Chemical Engineering, BSc, Engineers Board will not give you accreditation. Technical University of Mombasa, BSc Medical Engineering, you will not get accredited. Multimedia University, Civil Engineering, not known. All these things emerged yesterday when the EBK registrar appeared before the National Assembly's Committee on Education. Her name is Margaret Ogai. She said, it's a waste of resources for the parents and students taking unaccredited courses, and such waste affects our country's economy negatively. She was responding to questions by MPs regarding a petition by some students from Egerton University who've complained that their right to education has been violated by being taken through an unaccredited course. Unaccredited universities usually do not have the same educational standards and policies as accredited ones, and hence the quality and standards of the education offered cannot be guaranteed. The problem points to a disconnect between the Engineers Board of Kenya, the university's management, and the Commission for University Education, CUE, which approves curricula for institutions. Curiously, some of the students were placed in the programs by the KUSIPs following recommendations by the Ministry of Education. So we are talking about universities offering degree courses. These universities are not backroom universities. They are fully fledged accredited universities with a charter from the Commission for University Education. They have council. They have the entire management structure in place.
They do. That is why they are accredited.
They are accredited. And then there's the Engineers Board that says we ought to accredit any course in engineering that is being offered at a university.
I'm wondering, are they supposed to accredit the courses? Because if you look at the mandate of the board, it's registration of engineers and engineering consulting firms, regulation of engineering professional services, setting of engineering standards, development of general practice of engineering, training and capacity development. There is nothing mentioned here
that says that a university must get accreditation.
No. You study when you finish your studying and you now want to be a registered engineer, then there's an act that regulates these functions, and it's very, very clear. Yes, and it tells you what you can do and what you can't do.
So, but if it's the same kind of thing that we had with the Council for Legal Education.
Yes.
Because the Council for Legal Education was saying we must accredit a university before it offers a degree in law.
Yes. But you see, that is the Council for Legal Education.
And it does not register lawyers.
No, it does not. It does not. It does not. You see, there is the training aspect, as in the academic training aspect in these disciplines, right? They are quite separate and quite distinct from these bodies whose function is to register them and to ensure that the standards that they have attained qualify them to be members. Because when you're registered, you become a member. Medical and Dentist Board, same thing. The council that registers nurses, same thing.
Do they have a say on the institutions that offer training?
The say, no, not on the institutions. They may participate in the courses that are offered. They may, not must. They may, because one of the things that they're required is to set standards. Okay? But remember, all these engineers that we're talking about went through these processes of being educated in the same university.
But also, CT, we had an issue also with doctors at some point.
We did.
Some people in some certain university went through a medical degree.
Yes.
And then they were not being accredited. Why?
Yes. Two things. What is often asked is, was that course accredited?
By who?
There is a body whose job it is to accredit courses, and it is not the board.
What is the body?
No.
Is it the Commission for University Education?
Yes. That's their job. They are the ones who determine that these courses that you have... Remember, every year or every so often, they review these courses, and they want to guarantee that, one, they're relevant, they meet the standards that are required by the professions or by the professionals.
And an institution has the requisite facilities to offer.
Yeah. So when the course has been given a tick, it tells you that due diligence has been done.
This is a conversation that we need to actually have with even the Engineers Board, just to understand where they are also coming from, bringing the Commission for University Education also to get what their job is. I mean, whose job is to do what in this country? Because there are very many thousands of students who will suffer.
While we're at it, let's just organize it so that we even have the legal profession coming in.
Yep, and the others as well.
Yeah, let them come and explain
Let
these
everybody
things.
come in. Conversations continue into the next hour. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. News just in. The One Kenya Alliance will be signing the coalition agreement at 9 a.m. in Nairobi. News just in. The One Kenya Alliance will be signing the coalition agreement at 9 a.m. We expect coalition partners Kalonzo Musyoka, Gideon Moi, Martha Karua and Cyrus Jirongo to be present during the event. We will be bringing you that in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the war against sexual and gender-based violence got a major boost following the establishment of the first ever specialized court to handle SGBV in the country. The specialized court opened amid rising cases of SGBV, which include, among others, defilement, rape, female genital mutilation, and gender assaults. Speaking during the launch of the court in Shanzu, Mombasa, Chief Justice Martha Koome expressed optimism that new courts will ensure that victims of such harmful acts get justice. She directed the courts to implement the no adjournment policy when it comes to SGBV cases, amid concern that 56% of adjournment of such cases was occasioned by external parties for the reason that witnesses or parties failed to turn up to the courts, sentiments echoed by her deputy, Philomena Moilo. And the lobby group is protesting alleged police brutality in the ongoing crackdown on border operators. The NGO, in a letter to the Inspector General of Police, is calling for restraint and a stop to the alleged violations of human rights by police, even as they enforce the nationwide operation in line with the directive issued by the President Monday. President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the crackdown following an incident on the eve of International Women's Day that saw a female motorist assaulted in the city. The organization said it had not only received complaints and reports from several operators, but also had documented evidence of acts of violence. And Deputy President William Ruto is not the outright presidential candidate for the United Democratic Alliance. The party's Secretary General Veronica Maina said that the party has two other Kenyans who have expressed interest to fly the UDA flag in the August elections. In the communique, Maina noted that the three will undergo a presidential nomination interview tomorrow. According to Maina, the National Delegates Congress has been scheduled for March 15th at Kasarani Indoor Arena. And Kenya MP Kanini Kega has warned Deputy President William Ruto against propagating divisive politics in the Mount Kenya region ahead of August general election. Speaking in Nyeri town, Kenya MP said Jubilee Party members have regrouped to ensure that the region is in support of President Uhuru Kenyatta's endorsement of Raila Odinga as the fifth president. Kega drummed up his support for Raila Odinga's presidency, terming him as a credible leader who will enhance economic growth in the country. This is Azimio la Umoja will be taking its campaigns to Kisumu County. Raila's visit is expected to attract his supporters as local politicians have been advised to set aside their differences since today's campaign is to announce Raila's policies in the run-up to the presidency. Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, his Siaya counterpart Colonel Rasanga and James Ongwae of Kisii have warned supporters of political leaders who are out to incite violence during today's visit. And health workers in Mombasa have been forced to end their 4-day strike after the Employment and Labour Court issued orders to have them resume work immediately. Justice Agnes Kitiku directed that the health workers resume work and further directed that the orders and application be served upon the Health Workers Union and the matter be mentioned on March 23rd. Mombasa County moved to court on March 8th, seeking orders to stop the health workers from continuing with the strike that commenced on March 7th over salary dues for January and February and 5-month statutory deductions. Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Mombasa Branch Chair Hassan Mkuche, in a letter, asked all members to obey the order and return to work. And the Airports Council International has recognized Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the Moi International Airport in Mombasa as the best airports in Africa. The council, which is mandated to advance the collective interests of airports globally and access services quality, hailed the two top Kenyan airports for their excellence and service delivery. SAI noted that the award was a result of surveys and analysis carried out throughout the 2021 period where the COVID-19 virus had crippled the transport sector. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
So, shall we start with the Thika Superhighway? Yes, let's start there because traffic begins from Utali. Just after you pass Survey, you come towards town, traffic. And it comes and mixes with the traffic from Kiambu Road, from Muthaiga into Pangani, usual problems there. And then it clears off into Wangari Maathai Road and into Murang'a Road, all looking very good. Limuru Road is busy up to the junction again with the Wangari Maathai Road. As you get towards town on Murang'a Road and you get to Globe Cinema roundabout, it's busy but it's moving. Now, Mombasa Road, it's busy between Lusaka, that is between South Sea and getting into the Lusaka Road roundabout, that is Lusaka Road, Langata Road roundabout at Nyayo Stadium. Langata Road is busy up to the now called Raila Odinga Way. Ngong Road is moving well. Jogoo Road is also moving well. If there's anything that we need to talk about that's causing some issues somewhere on the road, please let us know. SpiceFM KE. Just tag us on Twitter. We'll see the message. Very good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation
It's Eric
Room,
and CT.
the only
Ndu
way to
Okoh
start.
is away. She started her weekend early. She's handling some issues. But she's well, and we thank God for that. CT, as we begin the hour, today's proverb is also from Western Sahara, which neighbors Morocco. Others will say, which is in...
There are those who it's in Morocco, but it also neighbors Mauritania.
Yes. Uh-huh.
If you are patient in one moment of anger,
yes,
you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
If you are patient with one moment
moment of anger.
Is it with or in? If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will then what?
You will escape 100 days of sorrow.
Don't be hasty in anger.
Yes, you will take some action, and which you will then regret at leisure.
Take time to consider any action that you're taking when you're angry.
Especially when you're angry.
Aye, but that's one of the hardest things for some people. You know, there are people who are very temperamental and...
They spark. And fly off the handle almost instantly.
Instantly. And they'll deal with the consequences later.
And guaranteed they will deal with the consequences later.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have this conversation about the nationwide crackdown that was ordered by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And it's also being implemented by the Ministry for Interior and Coordination of National Government. And this is what? This is the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. We know where it started. So we saw the video going round showing the harassment of this female motorist who was involved in an accident with a border on Wangari Maathai Road. She was badly handled, okay? And it sparked a nationwide outcry on this, and action needed to be done because it's not the first time that this happens. You're involved in an accident, border, they come, they basically harass you. The president said, no, this must come to an end. We need a crackdown. The cabinet secretary for the interior also said, no, we must do something about this and we must regulate this sector. We must bring this sector to order. The president also said, I know as I'm saying that there's some people who are going to politicize this issue and say, serikali sasa inaanza kuonea mwananchi mdogo, mwananchi wa kawaida. But no, what we're working on is streamlining a sector that is very important for our economy. It has helped a lot. The CS for the interior has said we need to institute some measures to have borders operating in certain ways, and that's where the crackdown started. Now, what have we seen? is very many of those boda bodas being impounded and the riders being arrested.
Yes.
You've spoken to a couple of them.
I have.
What have they said?
What I've been told is that there is a demand for 30,000 shillings not for the motorbike to be released, for you, the person who's been arrested, to be released. And that is if there is some fault found with the motorbike. But what I know is if someone is looking for a fault, even if that motorbike has just come from the showroom, there'll be fault found. And fault here is not just with the motorbike. Did you have a helmet? Did you have a reflector jacket? There are certain requirements the driver must have. And believe it or not, they're also supposed to have a helmet for their passengers. If your bike has all the necessary requirements, then the release requirement is Kenya shillings 15,000.
If it has all the necessary requirements.
And you also have the necessary requirements.
Determined by the police officer.
Yes.
Because, they can just look at you and say, this light is not bright enough.
My friend, if you want to debate, then you can, but you'll be incarcerated. If you understand the terms and conditions, then you look for the money, you're given time, you pay, you walk, you're given a day on which you can come and collect your bike once it's been inspected.
Why?
Yes. Now that, and this is countrywide. It is not in Nairobi alone.
15,000 shillings if your bike is deemed to be okay.
Yep.
So 15,000 shillings is for you to go home. Is this properly documented as bond?
I asked that question and they were vague about it. Yes. I'm going to take the view that it is a bond.
Okay.
Yes.
15 Gs.
Yes.
What if the bike has an issue?
30.
So why more?
I have absolutely no idea what the logic behind even any amount is. I don't know. I only know of the amounts being quoted. Now,
if there was an issue, let's say you were arrested at this point and you were not wearing a reflector jacket.
That one, for fault. You were riding, you didn't have helmet. Fault.
False.
Yes.
So inside, bike impounded.
Bike impounded.
You
30,000
shillings. You want to go home.
Yes.
30,000 shillings to get out of here. So 30,000 shillings. Many of them now have to call friends and relatives to raise.
But that's what's happening.
The money.
That's what's
because
happening.
you are not walking with 30,000 shillings in your pocket.
You don't have. How many people walk with 30,000 shillings in their pocket? Even 10, even 15, even 5, even 2, even 1. Okay? So that is what it is that you pay. Now, that is a story emanating from Nairobi. I asked other people in other parts of the country where I know people, and they were not certain about the amounts, but the principle is the same. To be released, you pay a certain amount of money, and the money differs. If there is fault found with either you or your bike, the amount that you pay is more, and if there's no fault, the amount that you pay is less. Now, what this has done, it has moved out of circulation, my friend, tens of thousands of bikes.
So there are no bikes.
My friend, there is a transport crisis.
Either because they've been impounded or because of fear. So very many boda boda operators, fearing the crackdown that's ongoing, prefer not to.
They'd rather not work.
Not work.
Yes.
So not working has an impact as well.
Oh, that has far-reaching consequences because you are talking about an individual and you're talking about probably a family that depends on them. Let's say they have children. Let's say they have a spouse. Let's say they have parents. Just think about it.
Yeah.
The way anyone who is working in a normal Kenyan setup and the dependence that they have.
Yep.
Now, all these people automatically get affected. But as I was thinking about this, the thing that really concerns me is from the events that we saw from that particular clip. I made comments on that particular day, and I was challenged by a friend of mine who works for one of our friendly nations in one of the embassies, and said, he was explaining this to me. He said, there's something called equivocation. In the West, when such a thing happens, it isn't an opportunity for you to bring comparisons and say, and what brought this discussion, apparently there was a clip where I said that our politicians are even greater thugs than the boda riders. And he said, what is done is you look at the harm, you condemn it because it is sexist, it is everything you can, but you don't bring other things into comparison. And I said, there must be logic behind why you think that way. So please explain it to me so that I can understand. He said, it just isn't the right thing. I said, for instance, give me an example of what you mean. He said, for instance, having been in Kenya for as long as I have many Kenyan friends, male friends. And every time they talk about people they know, he say, like that woman is really very pretty. Oh, she was really wearing. He said, in the West, it's considered sexist. You can't refer to women in that way. You can't profile them in that way. It is a negative connotation. And I said, okay, I understand. So I asked the question, are you telling me that I cannot look at what I think may have caused the action that I'm seeing? Am I not allowed to comment on the mindset of the individuals? Am I not allowed to comment on the attitude that certain men have towards women in general? And so a young woman driving would represent something in their minds. And am I not supposed to ask what it is that forms this particular attitude that certain men have? And then I said, more importantly, the number of people who you could see in that clip did not go beyond 3 or 4. But there was a whole crowd. I said, so am I also not supposed to consider what it is that prevents the majority who probably did nothing, who could have prevented what happened from happening? Why did they stand by? Some were encouraging, but why didn't others prevent these other people from doing it? And he said, I am not saying that what you're saying doesn't make sense. I'm just telling you the thinking so that you understand.
So you're saying like that should be day 2, day 3 reaction.
Essentially,
day 1 reaction should be focused just solely on the event,
the victim, and that alone, and condemning it for what it is.
For how long though?
That wasn't mentioned, because then I said, you separate the topic. If you want to discuss Boda Boda right, I said, but that attack gives it context. Said, but it demeans what happened to the lady. I said, it may, but in the absence of that attack, this discussion would not be taking place. I said, everything that you've said considered, it was a terrible thing. And if you imagine it happening to someone close to you, the things that go through your mind would be horrific.
Horrible.
It's not something you want to imagine or even wish for anybody. That lady went through something horrible.
But there's context.
I said, the opportunity...
It's not an isolated case.
Yes, it's unpleasant as it is. And it's truly horrifically unpleasant. So these are the questions that came to my mind. And now, with what the president said, the question is raised even further. Look at the response of our police service. Couldn't they have done this thing differently? Same thing.
Is there another way of instilling order and discipline in this sector? Or do we have to have... Because the current crackdown is netting everybody. Those who are compliant, those who are not compliant, those who may want to comply immediately, those who...
Even if you're not a border rider and you're riding a motorbike.
First arrested and then you explain.
And then you can explain later.
Utaongea mbele.
Yes.
We have the chairman of the Boda Boda Safety Association of Kenya, Kevin Mubadi, on the line. He's joining us. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. Welcome to the Situation Room on SpiceFM.
Thank you very much.
You've heard the conversation that we're having, and this is just reflecting on a nationwide conversation on what is happening around the country. President ordered a crackdown as a result of what we saw on Wangari Maathai Road. Crackdown also enforced by the police. Many Boda Boda operators have been arrested. The Ministry of Interior has said what they want to see the Boda Boda operators do. Are you among the people who've had meetings with the CS for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i?
Yes, since the first day the crackdown started, we were having a meeting with all the CSS, the CS Matiang'i, CS Muteru, the IG, the CS means of transport, and we were trying to find out the solution and see what is really the problem and how we can sort it out. So they announced the crackdown, and first of all, I want to apologize on behalf of all the riders in the country, to the lady that was assaulted, to our mothers across the country, and also to apologize to the President, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, that we are very shameful. We know we are not worthy to stand before him after seeing what happened last time as the border riders. But I want to thank His Excellency and the CSS that we have discussed this issue, that crackdown. But yesterday evening, the crackdown was lifted after we have had several meetings, around four meetings involving all the CSS and the IG. And the last one we did at KICC with almost 115 border officials within Nairobi County that are under border sectorization of Kenya, just to try and find out the solution. And one of the solutions that came out is about self-regulation, where people are going to register. We want to put a digital register for all the border riders in this country.
Let me ask you a question, Bwana Chairman. Why had you not done this before?
You know,
my name is Muga.
Oh, yes, Mr. Muga, you know, every reform has a step that it should take. And for a very long time, there was no good structure that could support the border industry in Kenya. For example, there was no organized organization that can take care of the border issues in this country. But as an organization, since we formed, we have been trying to put around the structure. First of all, what we did, because we were not very much recognized, we tried to have this structure from the county, from the national level up to the state level. So right now we have the county chairman, we have the sub-county chairman, we have ward chairman, we have state chairman. That leadership structure makes information flow very easily. Now, what we were requiring is the government support. How can the government come in to support, to recognize, so that we can also help them in restructuring the industry? Now, what happened is, after we had a meeting with all the CSS and the IG, they saw the impact and the need of the association to support the government in restructuring the border sector. And the meeting we were having with the officials is to ask them, are they willing to register? Do they want to stay with the criminals in their sector, or they want the government to weed out the criminals? And all the officials and even all the riders from across the country, they are saying they don't want to be with the criminals. They are hardworking people, and they want to be registered. They want to be known so that they can do a genuine business of border riding in this country. Because you find out that people who are committing this crime, there are very few. In Kenya, we have over 1.5 million border riders. You can imagine if we had all those people as criminals trying to harass people, stealing from people, this country, nobody can stay here. But for a very long time, there have been no proper structures, proper registration. Someone wakes up to them.
But, Bwana Chairman, I actually have to ask you. Yes. If I look at the matatu industry, they are regulated. One could argue that regulation was forced upon them during the time of one Mr. John Mishuki, who was Minister for Transport. But yes, I know of other areas in this country where border riders have organizations which are structured.
Yes.
And they have rules by which members abide. And you don't just have a motorbike. You have to join those circles that exist for you to be able to operate in the same way that they do with matatus. So when you say it lacks structures, I need to explain to me what you mean by you lacked structures within which this industry could operate.
You see, when you have so many small organizations or circles or whatever that operate without good coordination, and for those you go to a place, you find that there is a circle, yes, there is a structure that is operating, but we have some few individuals who refuse to join that circle. They are just operating on their own. You saw by that time there was no one who can force them to join. The government was not forcing them to either register. Everybody was running on his own. But now what is coming into place is either you want it or you don't want it, you must belong to that circle. You must belong to the organized structure at your working level. But as the things were, anybody, there are few people, you can find that an area has like 300 riders, but only 50 are the ones that are registered by the circle and are working as per the rules and regulations.
And it wasn't mandatory.
because it was not mandatory. The rest are just operating like a hooligan.
So this is what you require the government to help you with?
Yes, that enforcement part of it.
So now, how long have you been given to make sure that all borders belong to a registered SACCO?
We have only 60 days. We have only 60 days to ensure that these people are all registered.
Okay.
We have put the systems in the place, and the government wants a digital register for all the borders. We already have a system, border information management system is ready. We are ready to kick off. The ministry wants all the border riders who will be operating to have a license, because where the problem starts from is you find that a border rider is on the road. He doesn't have a driving license. He doesn't have insurance. When he's knocked, maybe wrongfully, he's knocked by a motorist.
Yep.
When they go to the police station, automatically he will be the one. He's on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So he will be on the wrong side of the law because he's not allowed to be on the road. He doesn't have a license. But when the border rider, once he reaches the police station and finds that the case is against him, he says, the police, I don't know, the police I didn't get my justice because I'm the one who was knocked, but now things have changed. So you find that most of the time they try to gang up to find justice because they are not aware that if you don't have a license, you are not supposed to be on the road. So that is the root cause of all these problems. What the government is saying that for you to be on the road now, you must have a license. Okay. Other people say that the licenses are very expensive, which is true. People could not afford it. The government have waived all the taxes that you pay on the license. Right now, for you to get a license from the government, it is free. Those are the things that we were discussing about when we were having this meeting with the CSS.
So now, free license.
You will get free license.
For how long?
All the border riders will get free license.
Okay.
Yeah, when you go to your school, maybe the money you will pay is for the driving school alone. If the school charges 2,000, you just pay 2,000. If the school charges 1,000, you just pay that 1,000. But when you go to NTSA portal, where you are supposed to pay, I don't know, for PDL, you are supposed to pay for exam, you are supposed to pay for interim driving license, all those are waived. When you go to the Huduma centers, when you are applying for your Smart DL, you are supposed to pay 3,050 for 3 years license. All that for the border rider is waived. It's free. You go in, you register, you wait, you get your DL free of charge.
So you say that the crackdown has been lifted?
The crackdown was lifted yesterday.
What does that mean?
It means that we have been given that 60 days to comply. Because even if they continue arresting people, what we brought into the perspective, into the limelight is, even for you to get a license, it takes 21 days for you to be trained.
Yeah.
That is when the NTSA system can open. So it is impossible. So for you to get to get registered, it will take some 2 to 3 weeks for all this implementation to be in place. For NTSA, the government says that the systems will be opened on 21st of this month, which means we still have like around 10 days for you to now be officially registered by the government to get the driving license. So putting all this into perspective, with the current crisis, we know if a border is not riding, it means he cannot get something to eat. He's out of business. So the government has at least relaxed the terms and conditions.
Okay.
They have said now there's no more crackdown. Let people operate. But as they operate, they work towards getting the compliance.
So when do the 60 days expire?
The 60 days will start from 21st of this month. Then we count 60 days from there.
Okay. So 60 days from the 21st of March.
21st of March to 21st of what? Around...
So let's say
May.
till end of May.
End of May, till end of May.
Okay. Are you saying now, Kevin, that all borders are then free to come back on the road?
Not all of them. we have some basic things that you must have, e.g. insurance. Insurance has no negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
When you are going to get involved in an accident, you must pay the third party. That is the law. Whether you are a border rider or you are a car owner, you must have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to come back on the road, at least the bare minimum, you must have an insurance.
Okay.
At least a helmet.
Okay.
Those are the easiest things. At least a reflector jacket. Those are the easiest things that you can buy on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But now the license part of it is the one that we are holding back, and the registration into the system, because all the SACCOs will give cards, and the Border Safety Association of Kenya will give SACCO cards.
Mm-hmm.
These SACCO cards will be linked online to form this digital register that the government wants to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about those that have been impounded in the last 2-3 days?
The people must go and pick their motorbikes. It will be free of charge. Once you go with the proper identification documents to confirm that you are the owner of that motorbike, you will take your motorbike and go home.
There are rumors that we heard that people were paying to be released. How true is this?
Yes. No, those were not rumors. They are true because people are being taken to court. That is the genuine way of paying. Where if anyone paid, the only genuine way he was supposed to pay is after he went to court, he's charged, then you pay the 30,000 fine that the people are paying, you come back and pick your motorbike and go. But no one is allowed to pay any shilling at the police station. No one.
And yet your members have done that.
We have not had anyone paying because there's no motorbike that was being released in any police station. Presidential directive, unless it has there is a signal that says how you can release the motorbike. No police officer can dare to release any motorbike. If the information have come from the IG and Deputy Inspector General with a certain directive, unless the same people gives another directive, there's no police officer that is allowed to release any motorbike. But now from yesterday, there was that directive that, the motorbike can be released, but the owner must come with the proper documentation, logbook or receipt of purchase. Because there are some other motorbikes which were also stolen.
Okay.
People are riding stolen motorbikes here and there. They don't have proper documents. So those are also some of the people that the government was looking for.
So you come with a proof of ownership.
Proof of ownership, you pick your motorbike and go. And if there's anyone that will be asked any shilling, he can easily report to us and we'll escalate the matter, because the police are not allowed to pick any money from any rider.
Okay. Kevin,
across the country.
Kevin, we thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch to get updates from you as the days go by.
Okay, thank you. But kindly pass our sincere apologies to all Kenyan people that we are very sorry. I think you have seen photos going around. We told our people, kindly write something, put on your back, say we are sorry.
Okay.
And we are ready to reform.
That's good to hear.
Thank you very much.
Asante. Kevin Mubadi is the chairman of the Border Safety Association of Kenya. We've been talking to him. He's given us an update of meetings that have been held between the border operators and government, led by the CS for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, also attended by other CSs, including the CS for Information, Joe Mushero, the Inspector General of Police, leadership of the National Transport and Safety Authority, and they have been given 60 days, which commence on the 21st of March. Get yourselves in order. Number one, get yourselves registered with a recognized SACCO. Number two, make sure that you go and get a valid license. Number three, make sure that you have insurance. Those ones you must do immediately. But getting into a SACCO, you have 60 days as a border operator. And the crackdown has been suspended. So people who were fearing to go out and work as border riders are now being told, as long as you have insurance and a valid riding license, get back to business. It's 26 minutes to 8. Let's take a quick break and take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Dare for fast relief from pounding, throbbing headache? Take Cipladon. The fizz works to relieve pain faster.
Available at all good pharmacies and now at Chandarana supermarkets. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the
Okay, so how's it looking like now? Nairobi is warming up. It's now 18 degrees Celsius. It's going to rise to 28 and drop down to 16. Mombasa, partly sunny day at 32 and lows of 25. Nakuru, 13 is currently the temperature. Mostly sunny day at 30 and going to drop down to 13. Nyeri, sunny day at 28, dropping down to 11. Malindi, 31 and lows of 25 and a partly sunny day. Kisumu, sunny day at 32 and lows of 19. If we look at Western Kenya, if we go to Kakamega, it's going to rise to 27 and then drop to 12. If we go to Kampala, Uganda, it's a sunny day, 29 and lows of 18. Johannesburg, South Africa, partly sunny day at 23 and lows of 14. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, partly sunny day, 32 highs and lows of 27. Kinshasa, mostly clear skies at 32, lows of 22. Lagos, Nigeria, clear skies at 34 and lows of 27. Across the globe, London, clear skies at 12 and lows of 10. And then Beijing in China, hazy day today at 12. It's going to rise to 14 and drop later on tonight to 6. New York, they'll wake up to 11 degrees and then it'll drop down later to 1 degree Celsius.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you on Langata Road? Are you stuck somewhere on Langata Road? Well, okay, that's okay. Don't worry. The traffic that is snaking all the way to close to the southern bypass on Langata Road is caused by the construction that's ongoing on Raila Odinga Way, formerly known as Mbagathi Way. That is what the problem is. But when you get onto the other section after that into Madaraka Estate going towards Aerodrome Road, clear. Langata Road is also busy at the junction with Uhuru Highway and Mombasa Road, and this is at Nyayo Stadium. It's busy there. Mombasa Road is also busy at that spot, but also Mombasa Road is clear the rest of the way. Jogoo Road busy at the City Stadium roundabout onto Landis Road, which is clear this morning. And Thika Superhighway, traffic starts from Survey, it's all the way beyond Survey into Garden City, coming towards town, and then it clears up after Pangani. Kiambu Road, same problems as you get towards the Thika Superhighway junction. Limuru Road coming out towards town is busy, and Waiyaki Way is not looking bad at all. If there's anything that we need to talk about and explain as a cause of traffic and alternatives to use, let us know by tagging us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
20 minutes to 8. The conversation continues. We are talking about border and the crackdown that was ordered by the president and how it's been implemented. We now know that, yes, there have been meetings that have been taking place between government and border operators. One such meeting was held a couple of days ago, attended by the CS, chaired by the CS for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, attended by other CSs, Inspector General of Police, Deputy Inspector General, and other senior police officers and officials from the National Transport and Safety Authority. The Border Safety Association of Kenya chairperson Kevin Mubadi was talking to us a while ago, and he told us that with that they have agreed with the police. It's okay. You can suspend the crackdown for now to allow the borders to continue operating as long as they meet the basic requirements. You have insurance, you have a valid license, you have a helmet, you have a reflector jacket. Get back onto the road. This has affected very, very many people who rely on borders. But let's first of all hear what Dr. Fred Matiang'i had told the border riders. He said, you must be compliant.
Every border rider should be licensed. Kila mtu wa border awe licensed. You will be registered for free. So, hakuna maneno ya 5,800. We now want to insist that within the period of registration, because we will open the books on 21st of March, and we will do this exercise for 60 days consistently. Within those 60 days, please make sure you have a smart rider's license. Smart rider's license. And in that process, when you are getting that smart rider's license, we will also make sure that you belong to a SACCO. With the regional and the county security teams, we begin now vetting our border riders afresh. Kuna wale tuko na record now kwa DCI and so on. We'll start vetting this process afresh, so that tutoe wale watu ambao wanataka kutuharibia sifa kutoka kwa biashara yetu. My Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, will now begin a formal recognition and engagement with border across all structures of administration. Every regional commissioner, if you finish your election structures and so on to the ground, every regional commissioner must know who is their regional chairperson of border. Every county commissioner must know who is their county border chairperson. They must talk to them and hold meetings with them.
So that's what the CS has said. And this is with that the meeting that was held between the government and border operators. He said everybody must have a license. I mean, those are the basics. He says, actually, now we move into smart license because NTSA is rolling out the smart driving license, okay? The government has waived all fees for border operators. If you want to get a license to ride a motorbike, application, 0 shillings, free. You must belong to a SACCO, and they've been given now 60 days from the 21st of March to belong to a SACCO. So by the end of May, all border riders must belong to a SACCO, and the SACCO must have its structures, which are then known by the administration officials in every county. All those things, he says, must be in place. Some of the comments that are coming in. Robert Kirago says, it's good to hear from the border chairman. The crackdown is unwarranted in my opinion. I paid a bribe of 5,000 shillings to have my rider released from Mwariki police station in Lanet. Mark you, the bike is brand new, has all valid documents. Rider was arrested, rider in. To get the rider out, 5K. Robert, that's what he's saying.
I'm certain that there are others who will give a similar testimony.
Oh, yes. Many of them will do that. Then also, social consciousness says, the situation with borders is not just affecting the borders, okay? The ripple effect has caused a supply chain crisis for businesses that rely on motorbikes for deliveries. It's affecting SMEs.
Yes, it is.
Just because of that crackdown, it has had a serious effect as well. What do you know about what's happened with this crackdown? 0719-012-600. Talk to us. Dennis in Nakuru, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. And you?
Very well, thank you, Dennis.
All right, I'm actually calling you from Nakuru.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm a technician by profession. Yeah, and sometimes in most cases, these roads, you actually move through them and we travel so much, and because of the nature of my job, we get to see a lot of things that are actually happening with the borders, and basically some of them are really, really annoying that you don't even know what to say. Like, I'll actually give an example. There's a time I went to Nanyuki area, and I was actually making my way back to Nakuru. His border rider actually just came without even seeing the brakes and that kind of a thing, and he's in a rush. The other sides of the roads were under construction with these machines parked. The guy comes without even braking, then hits my tail lights.
Wow.
Now, you brake as a normal way so that you can actually find out what is actually going on, because he's actually on a motorbike without any safety gadgets with him. You know, things like helmets, knee guards, and elbow guards, that kind of a thing. So you're getting out of the vehicle just to find out what is actually happening, or either they're actually injured, so that you can see what to do. Literally, you get out and the guy starts abusing. And even the person is actually even carried, who's not even riding the bike, is even furious. So we get to see this stuff actually happen with the border riders. And we cannot, I personally cannot say that all of them are actually bad, but there's just a few of them amongst them who are not disciplined at all. So to me, whatever Fred Matiang'i said, it is just finance, but it all falls with discipline from an individual or even them themselves. Okay. Discipline. How many people have we actually seen that are actually driving the matatus, that kind of a thing? And you see them overlapping and driving so wrongly, they overtake you on your left. Then they don't even ask; they just come in front of a vehicle, and then that's it. How many of them? They are licensed.
Do you trust that the new measures that the government is implementing will then at least introduce some order, some sense of order?
Yes, I trust that, but I'm still coming back to an individual's discipline. Individual's discipline. That is my key thing. You can be given the license, that kind of a thing, but then even if you don't cause an accident, you still go ahead and behave in a very wrong way in front of others. So how does even the license actually help? It starts with self-discipline. We are actually married. Imagine a state whereby you are actually at work and then something of that kind actually crops up, that's your wife that has actually been insulted like that, or that's your husband that borders have actually beat up, that kind of a thing. How would you feel?
Big issues.
It's wrong. So to me, it's not a question of just license.
So how do you get that personal discipline?
It's just that person being disciplined, like you yourself. You say, okay, fine, this is a mistake that has actually been done. The borders riders, they've actually accepted that this was actually wrong. You see, these are people who actually apologizing who did not do the wrong. They apologize. But what about the people who actually did the wrong?
Do you think
that goes there?
Yes. Do you think that perhaps these circles that they belong to are the ones who should be held accountable for their members' behavior? Meaning, it should be up to them to ensure that their members are disciplined. And if they're not, then it is them and the entire circle who are brought to book.
Correct. When you have a house that you're actually controlling, it is you now to know exactly the people whom you are taking care of. Amongst them, if at all there are people who are not really correct, they should not actually give them licenses. Circles cannot really say that we don't know Odhiambo, we don't know Ochieng, or we don't know Ouma's character, and then you actually give him a license to go and still operate.
All right. Dennis, thank you very much for calling. Michael in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today, Michael?
I'm doing fine. City Aure.
Yes.
The crackdown that was going on in the border sector, Michael, what do you say about that?
I start by asking the question, should regulation be done? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
And then the next question is, should we always wait for such instances to realize that we should regulate the transport sectors that we have? The answer is no. We had not to wait until it reaches this point of time where harassment is being done is when the government takes action of stepping up to regulate this sector. Because this is not the first instance, there have been a series of harassment of other motorists. This was just a climax of it all. Secondly, I will say the wrong agency in this country to always implement any government policy is the police.
Mm-hmm.
They never have measures to bring these things in this to bring this implementation to force in a very, very good way. Like I can just mention a few instances. Like when the curfew was enforced, you know, the only thing the police saw and the task they had was beating the common mwananchi.
Yeah.
So the first thing they do is go and make sure that their rungus are well polished. That is the only way they can think of enforcing that law. Secondly, when the mask was being enforced, the police saw a market where they could reap from the common mwananchi.
Uh-huh.
You know, so they have never had measures of just implementing this, bring this implementation to force in a better way that resonates with the common mwananchi without pinching them so much.
Okay.
So what I would say is just the same way Michuki laws came to force in 2004 in February. You know, they were given time to comply with the things that Michuki told them to do. After that deadline, the said deadline is when now crackdown was done to those people who did not comply. The same was supposed to be done. Now I love it that the meeting has been held and been given the time and the waiver has been done. And just like City said to the previous caller, let us hold the circles that will register this border accountable. The same thing we've seen being done to Matatu's circles, where Matatu is involved in an accident and the Matatu was in the wrong, then the circle is banned.
Same thing.
You know, when they feel that pinch, they'll make sure that their drivers and all their employees who are in those circles are disciplined.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Asante sana. George in Nyeri, good morning.
Good morning, Latiff.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. The city, how are you?
Very well, thank you, sir.
So, I'll make a contribution on the border issue.
Yep.
And you see, when you have a puppy and it's growing into a dog,
yes,
and you don't teach it the right morals that kwangu mbwa yangu haikanyangi kiti and things like that, eventually the dog will not know what to do, when and how.
Mm-hmm.
When that dog becomes rogue, as far as you will blame the dog, remember you are part of the failure of that dog. So, where do you have the CS for transport? Because that is his docket. And we have this notion of CS is not working, and we have CS Matiang'i coming up and cleaning their messes. And that
how is it the transport CS's docket?
Because border riders are in the transport docket. And
actually, NTSA that licenses them is under interior. Police who enforce the law are under interior.
Mm-hmm.
So we could basically say that this...
On one thing, that is the licensing and the law enforcement.
Yes.
But borders are in transport.
Actually, yes, their function...
It's a transport function.
Yes.
Yes. So that's why you find the CS of transport has failed. Because when Michuki saw that the matatus are going rogue, he as the minister then came and put policies in place and enacted laws. Mid last year, I happened to be in a program in my home county, Kajiado, where the county government, the national government were training border riders. I'm not a border rider, but I had a bike, a motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's a private one. I attended the training. They were free, actually. The only thing you are going to pay is the PDL, interim, and the driving license.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are being trained, because the training was being held by NYS officials in conjunction with, that is the NTSA. They were telling us that a time is coming when things will change. Na watu wataona moto. So whoever who had that information knew that this time is coming. It's only that the forest road incidents just triggered it to give it a limelight. But what I will say that borders need to be in circles, because when you control those circles, you're able to control to the last person.
Yeah.
So the approach by the president was the wrong idea of calling for
immediate crackdown.
But what PS has done, I think it's the right thing now, where we have policies, 60 days, everybody can have a driving license for free with the PDL and all that in the NTSA portal. And I think in one of these fine days, we should bring in an NTSA guy to give a breakdown to the citizen on how you can also do some of these things on your phone or on your laptop at home, so that you can ease this whole process, you see.
That's true. Thank you very much, George.
Yeah, have a nice day.
Good day. Anthony.
Hello.
Good morning. How is Mombasa today?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
Yes, Mombasa is fine, a bit sunny.
All right.
We are doing good.
Are borders still operating in Mombasa?
Yeah, some parts they are. But this morning I've seen it like they're almost all back on their work.
Okay.
What about the tuk-tuks?
I think that is the next thing we should be dealing with after the border. They are a menace.
How so?
They are rough riders, I can say. They don't care about the rules on the road. You see, with borders and tuk-tuks, most of these guys are expert drivers, yes, but they don't know the rules to follow on the road. You find them stopping anyhowly, turning anyhowly, joining the road anyhowly, causing accidents here and there. And my take on this is, especially from Mombasa, majority of these riders need the school dropouts. Masomo ni muhimu sana in life. Hata kama utafika form 4 na upate E ama upate whatever you'll get, that duration umekaa shule inatoa upumbavu ndani yako. Most of these guys ni wale school dropouts. Mtu ameshika bike akifika class 6, class 7, hata kumaliza 8, amepata bike, ameanza kufanya kazi. They don't care. They don't know how to relate with their passengers and the fellow human beings. Anajiona vile akona bike, ana ride na ile mamaringo na nini, anapata kaka pesa kadogo, anajiona amefika. And that is the ego ambayo inasumbua hawa watu. I saw a documentary the other day, and I've been to Thika several times, and I think you saw it, about Thika riders. They are well organized.
So that is what we need also nationally.
That is what we. Hata nashangaa serikali wakishinda wakizunguka, you have something happening somewhere, you can see, you can copy from that. It's working, and they are very well organized. The people in Thika are not complaining. Hata hiyo crackdown ikifanywa Thika, motorbikes were running vizuri, walikuwa wanaendelea vizuri, because they are organized.
Okay.
But now, hiyo kitu serikali badala kuchukua kuliplicate, they just go around wakizunguka. We have MCAs and MPs. They come to the border riders wakati inafika ni wakati wa kuwatumia kufanya msafara ya kampeni na nini. But they never sit down with them and talk with them, ama kuwasaidia kuregister in those circles, kuwafundisha doing those things.
How to harmonize the industry. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Just a minute, unapata kwa hizo misafara zao when they are doing it. I remember one time nilikutana nao barabarani. They are very rough na the aspiring MP is there katika hiyo msafara, and he's seeing how they are behaving, harassing people kwa msafara yake.
Indiscipline. Asante, Anthony.
Indiscipline.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour, and reminding you about Cipladon. Do you have a headache? Do you have any kind of pains that are bothering you? Cipladon is one effervescent drug that you use. Put it in water, it dissolves in water, swallow, it works 2 times faster than other paracetamol. Very good, 500 mg or 1000 mgs, and it works very well.
One moment headache, next moment headache gone.
Imagine, just like that. Make sure that when you actually put it in water, allow it to fizzle out completely, to effervesce completely, and then you take it. It works very well. A very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m.
Sugar and spice and everything I
spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Healthiest Mutahi Kagwe is expected to address the nation today. In his speech, it is expected that he will give statistics and the progress thus far when it comes to addressing COVID-19, which continues to cause havoc globally. Kenya has in the recent months been recording reduced COVID-19 numbers, which has been described as flattening the curve. The CS is also expected to address the nation over the protocols, where he might announce revised measures when it comes to dealing with COVID-19. To matters politics, and the One Kenya Alliance members will be signing the coalition agreement in Nairobi at 9 a.m. The coalition will be signing the coalition agreement as it prepares and organizes its house as we approach the August 9th general election. Party leaders Gideon Moi of KANU, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, Kenya's Martha Karua and Cyrus Jirongo of United Democratic Party are expected to be present. This as KANU chairman Gideon Moi confirmed that his party is still part of the One Kenya Alliance, hence denying reports of a fallout with his fellow co-principal Kalonzo Musyoka. This after KANU Secretary General Nick Salat hit out at Kalonzo over allegedly playing hardball on the impending Okoh Azimio Grand Coalition, further asking Moi to leave Okoh and the Wiper party leader. Moi, however, says that they, as Okoh, are still united and fielding talks with Azimio La Umoja to form the coalition ahead of the August polls. He said they will keep talking to interested parties until an amicable position has been attained in the ongoing talks. And Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni says they have extended the registration process for their aspirants until the 22nd of March. He noted that the party is continuing to receive aspirants from all over the country, which is evident the interest for Jubilee Party is growing. Earlier, incumbent politicians elected on Jubilee Party tickets in the last election and have paid nomination fees to other parties or put on notice. Although the members have not submitted their written resignation letters to the ruling party, the defectors now risk losing their positions if the party initiates the process of their removal. Speaking in Nakuru County, Kioni said that the party was set to initiate removal of disloyal members. And Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, has censured the government for allegedly neglecting some parts of the country in matters development. Muturi, who is the Democratic Party presidential candidate, said it was sheer injustice that almost 60 years since independence, their squatters in parts of Kenya lack the coast region. Speaking in Kilifi Town, where he met with grassroots leaders from the coast region, Muturi decried low agricultural production in an area with untapped potential. According to the county government, more than half of the land in Kilifi County is arable. And voters who will not have registered with their various political parties by March 26th will not participate in the party primaries in April. Office of the Registrar of Political Parties North Rift Region Coordinator Hope Nandwa has said only voters whose names will appear in political party registers will be able to elect their party candidates during the party primaries, added the regional coordinator. Speaking during the establishment of the Singishu County Multi-Sectoral Collaboration Forum and Election Preparedness meeting held at the Homecraft Centre in Eldoret, Nandwa said political parties will not use the IEBC register to do their nominations during the party primaries, but that from the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. And the High Court is set to give a ruling in a case where 5 farmers, West Kenya's Sugar Company and Mumia's Outgrowers Limited, are challenging the leasing of Mumia's Sugar Company to Sarai Group. At the conclusion of the submissions, Milibani presiding court judge Justice Alfred Mabea informed the parties the ruling will be delivered on notice in the course of his term. The farmers' lawyers, Mr. Kibe Mungai, reiterated that the lease was given to Sarai Group, yet there were higher bids on the table, which could have ensured the indebtedness of Mumia's Sugar Company is taken care of. Now, the East African Business Council has presented memoranda of private sector priorities to Principal Secretary State Department for East Africa Community, Kevin Desai. Speaking at the EABC Private Sector Pre-Heads of State Summit engagement organized with support from GIZ, EABC Chairperson Nicholas Nesbitt called upon the EAC partner states to bring down East African borders for trade to flourish. The chief guest, Kevin Desai, called for public-private dialogue and collective responsibility. The father said the expanding market, diversity of our people and the richness of our resources are key prospects for the economic growth and prosperity of our region. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM.
All right,
Kisumu.
so the situation that was unfolding on the Langata Road is still unfolding on Langata Road. So traffic heading towards Raila Odinga Way, formerly Mbagathi Way, is still very, very heavy, snaking all the way back to the Southern Bypass interchange. On to Makadara and then on to Aerodrome Road is moving very smoothly. Uhuru Highway is moving well from Nyayo Stadium roundabout, getting all the way to Haile Selassie roundabout, where there's a slight snarl up. The problems are on Thika Road, as you can imagine, starting out from Survey, coming towards Utalii, coming towards the Kiambu Road junction into Pangani. It moves after that onto Muranga Road, smooth, onto Wangari Maathai Highway, smooth. Kiambu Road is very busy as well. Jogoo Road is not looking so bad this morning, apart from the usual problems around Makadara, and we know it's because of the areas around Hamza and the bumps. That is an issue. Coming towards Jogoo Road, it's also an issue. Landis Road is now getting busy, snaking all the way back to the junction onto Lorian Road, getting into Landis Road into Haile Selassie Avenue. It's also busy. Mombasa Road has not been bad at all today. In fact, the issue is only around Mudhama Road, and this is on Mombasa Road coming towards the city, but it's moving otherwise. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Oh, yes, a very good morning to everybody who's joining us this morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room on the 11th day of March 2022. We are still waiting for the president to do the thing that he said he's going to do this month. And we are still hopeful. That is launching the expressway.
I was never hopeful. This expressway will not be finished in March. The earliest this expressway will be complete earliest, and that is, of course, if a miracle occurs, is June.
It's going to happen, Bonasi.
So if the president wants to drive on the expressway in his current state, I can only assume that our president has become suicidal.
It's going to happen. You stop being negative. We're in March. It's going to happen. Well, we have three guests who joined us in the studio this morning. We're talking about COVID-19. We've just heard from Aseto in the news. Health CS Mutahi Kagwe is expected to announce the lifting of some of the measures that are still in place. How is it that we've done with fighting COVID-19, the nationwide rollout of universal health coverage? Have we been kicking several cans down the road? That's a conversation we'll have with our guests. Before we introduce them, let's hear today's proverb from CT.
If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
If you are patient in one moment of anger, you'll escape 100 days of sorrow.
Yes, this is a Western Saharan proverb.
Okay.
Now, there are those who argue there's no such state as Western Sahara. It's part of Morocco, but that's a debate for another day.
We can just call it Western Sahara without saying the Republic of or the Kingdom of. It's okay. Right? Okay, our guest this morning, The Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Dr. Davji Atela, joins us in the studio today alongside Reverend Elias Agola, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, and from the Christian Aid Organization, the Pan-Africa Senior Advocacy Advisor, Joab Okanda. Gentlemen, asante sana for joining us. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the show, and we appreciate that you have joined us this morning. Dr. It's the first time that you are in the studio. We've had very many conversations with you.
Yeah, we have quite a number, but most of them have been online, on Zoom, and on phone. So I think it's the first time we're now physically on the studio.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu. Mchungaji, karibu pia.
Asante sana.
It's good to have you on the show.
Asante sana.
What role do you play in the National Council of Churches of Kenya?
Well, in the National Council of Churches of Kenya, I play several roles. One of them is being an advocacy person, talking on issues, whether it is corruption, COVID-19, and any other issues that the church assigns me to do at the NCCK. Like this time again, we are talking politics and elections, and we are here today I'm here to talk about COVID-19.
True.
Thank you.
Which church and denomination do you represent?
I'm from PCEA, the Presbyterian Church of East Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I serve here in Nairobi, in Kahawa West, the northern part of Nairobi, which we call the Nairobi North Presbytery.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Joab Okanda, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. You are from Christian Aid. Who is Christian Aid?
Thank you, Eric. I'm happy to be part of the Situation Room today. Christian Aid is a global movement of people, churches, and local organizations that stand together for dignity, for equality, and for justice.
So what does that mean?
Poverty robs people their dignity.
Yes.
And so we have to fight the root causes of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So we stand together, we bring people together to fight the root causes of poverty that rob people their dignity. We stand for equality and we stand for justice.
When an organization is called something aid, you think of receiving aid and support. Is that what you do? Humanitarian aid?
There are situations that require humanitarian support.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we start a conversation around aid, I know it's a conversation that will take a month to have. Because are we talking about aid itself, or we are talking about justice? We are talking about restoration, Aid itself keeps people in dignity, actually. And, it comes up with colonial connotations. And even internally within Christian Aid, we are having a conversation whether we should keep the word aid as part of the organization's name.
Good. What would the other names be? Christian support, Christian advocacy.
Actually, what I'm concerned about, aid, we understand the term with all the connotations. So, but when you prefix it with Christian, how then does it differ from others? What is it that you do that is specific and unique about what it is that you offer?
The name came about when the organization was founded about 75 years ago, when churches came together to support those who are facing humanitarian disasters, those who are actually were suffering under the hands of colonialists, so this was a movement that came, for example, in South Africa to fight apartheid,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, back to that question. If you were to move it from the name aid, what else would it be called? Christian. So Christian is staying. Aid is what, now we may have to change from Christian aid to Christian.
Eric, my question hasn't been answered yet.
Christians.
The reason why I say this, colonial connotations notwithstanding, anyone who professes to be of the Christian faith, the issue of assisting those in need, it's not a suggestion, it's mandatory. We have a prelate here. He can confirm whether what I'm saying is a figment of my imagination or whether it is true.
Yeah, it is true. Whenever you mention a religion, Christian for that matter, you have to have in mind that the issues of aid, support, having initiatives and developments and advocacy for the less fortunate or the faithfuls is not something that you do as an option. Even if you have to acronym aid, you can say advocacy, initiatives and developments. That can also be part of what the Christian aid do, and all that is about support to the people that you target as your persons, as your target for operations. So even when my friend is saying Christian aid is a name that was initiated long time ago, 75 years ago, again, even today, it is still relevant. I think you are right in asking that question, and I'm sure I've answered you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think otherwise, having it as Christian aid is still the best, because it actually fragments the different roles that the Christianity plays. So this is just to help and to empower the humanity and to assist on that aspect. I think that will really make it different from the religious aspect.
Okay, Joab, focus group discussion, you get your answer, right? Daktari, we have been talking a lot about COVID-19 for the last 2.5 years or so. COVID-19 in the country, the response by the government on COVID-19, formation of the National Emergency Response Committee, formation of the task forces, daily communication from the ministry, a reallocation of budgets to fight COVID, and very many things that have happened, where we get to a point where yesterday's positivity rate was 0.2%. Okay? So if we were to look at it broadly from a universal point, how have we fared in responding to this global pandemic as a country?
I'll say that if you look at the Kenya, or as it is, in response to the COVID-19, we've fairly done well. And this is in the sense of communication. When COVID came in the year 2020, there was a lot of panic that was among the public and everybody. Nobody knew what COVID was. And even if there was information that somebody is infected, the reactions were very unique. But then I think the government took an initiative of giving information almost on a daily basis. And that information really made people to understand the prognosis and how COVID was relating, to the point that people understood that if you get COVID, you can actually get well. They're giving the statistics of those who are infected, the transmission, the deaths, and even the recoveries. So I think that information really helped people to understand, and even the trends of different places. Generally, again, also we have the people who are affected, those who lost their life in the process, a number of them, and some were because of the facilities that they were into. So in one way, I can say that the way the government handled the information part of it was good, and the way it exposed the inefficiency that were in the public sector facilities, and it made many people to see that the healthcare actually it plays a pivotal role in the country, the sector, or in any setup. And again, it made people to see also the healthcare workers in a different way as before, that actually they are like front soldiers that will put their life in place to support and to help the country. So basically, that really made a lot of policies that have been developed, and even the way that the public has taken steps in it became very different. Yes.
So there was great improvement. Yes. And Reverend, if you look at the entire response, of course, religious organizations were central to this dissemination of information, to making sure that everybody understands what they're supposed to do. Religious organizations were immediately affected by the lockdowns, by restriction of movement into places of worship. But also religious organizations, also in terms of playing that important role in the community as influencers, religious organizations also sponsor very many health facilities. How would you rate our response, and what are the positives and the negatives that come out of the COVID-19?
Well, when COVID-19 struck in March 2020, the first entity that was struck was the church, because church is a gathering, it is a congregation. It is a people coming together, and not only the church. We have the Muslims, that is the mosques. We have the Hindus, that's the temples, and under the IRCK, which is Interreligious Council of Kenya, the church came together, and the religious institutions came together, and our main role was to ask the people to be calm first, to obey what the government is directing, and we were also there to give hope to our people that it's not all until it is all. We are not done yet. We are still alive, we are still existing, God is still in control, and we know that things will stabilize. So we continued with that message of hope, and we also asked our health institutions to team up with the government so that whatever the government instructs or requests to be done should also be done in our health facilities. And most of our health facilities were engaged with the government.
In your opinion, are there things that we should have done that we didn't do? Or are there things that we were saying we are doing, but in reality we were not doing?
Yeah, humanity is a difficult species to deal with because they think, they have their own opinions, and at that time again, most of the religious institutions have got their own theological interpretations because although we have a standard Bible or a standard Quran, but the interpretations are with the people. So sometimes when you ask the people to mask up, people could not mask up all of them. If you ask people to isolate or not to go to crowded places, you would still see people go to Gikomba. You would still see people, sneak in and maybe have their own in-person meetings. So again, we can't say everybody did everything at the same time, but again, it depends on where people were.
How about the government? Was the government doing everything that it ought to have done job?
Yeah, I think as Davji said, the government tried in terms of communicating the impacts of this pandemic. But where I found the government failing is actually when we started getting COVID-19 vaccines. We didn't see the same energy that the government invested in telling people to social distance, to wash their hands. We didn't see that actually happening. The government did not go out there aggressively telling people to get vaccinated, but instead it started using some militaristic approaches, saying you'll not have access to government services if you're not vaccinated. You'll not access malls if you're not vaccinated, And we know the myths around vaccines and not just COVID-19 vaccines. So if the government would have put in the same effort, we would have seen a difference. The other thing that I think the government missed a bit is in terms of protecting the most vulnerable, and we've seen the social protection systems. Where has the money gone? Government responses, fiscal responses to this pandemic, to be honest. They reduced, for example, the pay as you earn for certain people. But it also reduced corporate income taxes, for multinationals to 25, from 30% to 25%. This means the government was collecting less, actually, to invest in public services.
Not necessarily. If you look at it literally, it appears that they're collecting less. But sometimes, not in this particular instance, if your tax is fair and it's considered to be manageable, you actually make it possible for more people who ordinarily would have avoided paying tax to actually pay. So you actually end up even receiving more money than you would have received otherwise. When you make it punitive...
Theoretically.
Yes. No, actually, it's practical. When you make it punitive, more people avoid paying taxes even where they could. That's true. Case in point is during the Kibaki era. If you look at the conversations around tax, what is it that made that government able to collect money? They didn't keep hiking taxes. They didn't tax you at every turn. They rationalized it and they brought about ways and means they were having conversations with you about how to pay your taxes.
But specific to the stimulus program that was announced by the president, With the reduction in pay as you earn, with the reduction in income tax, did the government then collect less than it could have?
Let me ask the question.
From the same organizations.
Is there evidence that the government collected less? Because this is something that is empirical. It's something we can determine.
Yes.
Yeah, there is actually evidence that the government collected less. You know, if I was paying 30% and I'm now paying 25%, and we are talking about those who are earning highly. You know, we're not talking about those who are earning the minimum, you know.
So were they collecting less because they reduced the taxes, or were they collecting less because more people were not able to pay?
They were collecting less because they reduced the taxes. You know, they were saying we want to
From a potential pool of the people who've paid tax, you started the financial year projecting that these people, the five of us in the room, were going to pay X amount. And then you've reduced it by 5%. Yeah. If all of us still end up paying, you have collected less than you had projected.
But I think we need to go back to the context. The question is, what did the government do and how did it do it? The context is the COVID-19 time.
Yes.
And the government had an initiative to have taxes reduced. So whether it was paid less or not, we focus on, did the government do something to at least relieve people during that time, so that at least if they were to pay 30, whether more people now paid or whether less people paid, that depends on the data.
The question
but now we have to look at it at what did the government do?
What was the intention of the government at the point?
What was the intention of the government?
Is actually, who was the government cushioning? Was it the poor or was it the rich? You know, it was a good thing that the government reduced taxes for the most vulnerable, for the poorest, for the low-income earners. But this was applied to everyone, whether you're earning 3 million a month, you know. And beyond that,
Pay was only to a certain level of income, up to 25,000. That's what it was waived.
That was what was waived, but the rest was reduced. You know, there was a reduction by a certain percentage to all those who are paying payee, and then the corporate income tax also was reduced from 30% to 25%, and you can see the impact of that when that was removed now.
So what is your argument then, Job?
My argument
is... with this, the government actually supported those who are higher incomes, the rich more than the poor?
Yes.
Demonstrate that. How?
Because if I'm earning 3 million shillings and I've been paying a tax of 30% from that income, and you give me 5% tax relief, and you also give someone who's been earning 150,000 a same percentage of tax relief, you see the amount of revenue you're losing from the one person earning, the 1 million, who is less impacted by the pandemic. And this is the money that you really required to actually strengthen your public health systems so that you can respond to this pandemic. So it is about having a blanket relief for everyone, those who are high income earners and those who are low income earners.
In your opinion, what should they have done?
In my opinion, the government should have provided a relief up to a certain level. Let's say those who are earning maybe up to 150,000. And those who are earning higher than that, let them continue paying,
Dr. Ari, what do you think?
I don't think I agree with Job on that. Because I think the thing is pay as you earn. So it's on a tax, there's a level for it. And then when there was a reduction in that amount, it meant that the working class were able to get a little bit more money. What I believe this was going to help with in every way is to cushion everybody during that particular COVID, because the economy was affected. So if the tax was less, if it could have been less all through, that's the amount you're paying, then I think if we're paying less tax, less better, because then we have more money in circulation, more money to help many things, to help many activities. So I believe if we say that the more the government tax during the COVID, they'll have more money to really help mitigation. And that was not the case, because during this period of COVID, we had a lot of grants that were being sent to the government, that were helping the government to handle this. But I think some of them went into very long hands, like we saw the case of KEMSA, where we ended up having a lot of billionaires from that particular scandal. And I'm sure there are others that probably have not been mentioned, did not be talked about, but occurred, even in the manner that the communication was taking place, the ministry. And if that is the ministry, what then happens in the counties? Many counties could not account for millions that were there for COVID-19. And that's why one thing that's I had to add on the government not doing was part of the human resource for health. During this pandemic, we realized the essence and the need to have healthcare workers. But then the shortages that we have in our facilities existed before COVID, existed during COVID, and they're still in existence. But we have a very big number of doctors that have graduated over the years that are outside not working. We have a big number of clinical officers, a big number of nurses. So you realize that you go to the hospitals and you're not able to get services, not because there are no doctors that have been employed, but there are so many doctors outside who will be working in the kiosk, maybe selling mandazi.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
When we train healthcare workers, is there a plan to determine how many healthcare workers are trained to meet the need that we have in the country? Or are they just trained because the training facility exists and people have applied?
Because they're universities and people have gotten A's. Let's answer that question after we take this break. Okay, it's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online on YouTube and Facebook. It's Eric Latiff and CT Muga today. Our guests, Dr. Davji Atela, who's the Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Reverend Elias Agola, advocacy person at the National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, and from Joab Okanda is a Pan-Africa Senior Advocacy Advisor at Christian Aid. We are talking about COVID-19 and basically just doing what we've been saying we want to do. Have an audit. Let's look at how have we managed COVID-19, both as citizens and as our government. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and he should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation.
Okay, so the temperature in Nairobi is going to hit 28 degrees later today. It's going to be a cloudy day today for starters, and then the temperatures are going to drop down to 16. How's it going to look like in Mombasa? Partly sunny day at 32, lows of 25. Malindi, mostly sunny day, highs of 31, lows of 25. Kisumu, highs of 32 and lows of 18, sunny day there as well. Nyeri, sunny, 28, lows of 11. Nakuru, sunny, highs of 30. Lows of 13. Western Kenya, Kakamega, sunny days, highs of 34, lows of 14. Eldoret, highs of 27 and lows of 12. In Kinshasa, DRC, it's a mostly sunny day, highs of 32 and lows of 22. Kampala, sunny day at 29 and lows of 18. Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 34, lows of 27. Johannesburg, South Africa, mostly cloudy day at 23 and lows of 14. Dar es Salaam, our neighbors, mostly cloudy day, highs of 32, lows of 27. Around the globe, across Africa and into the world, New York, cloudy day at 11 and lows of 5. London, clear skies at 12 and lows of 10. Beijing, China, sunny day at 13 and lows of 6. And everywhere else that we want to talk about, we'll tell you about Paris, for example, highs of 13 and lows of 8.
forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of? Has anybody been
I will not listen.
Bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so how is it looking on Langata Road? Because it's been bad this morning. It's still not looking so good, although it's starting to improve as you head towards Raila Odinga Way. Up Raila Odinga Way, joining Ngong Road at City Mortuary Roundabout, it's quite busy. And then the rest of Ngong Road is fine. Mombasa Road this morning is okay. Uhuru Highway, where it starts at Nyayo Stadium Roundabout, going into Lusaka and into Haile Selassie Roundabout, it's busy. How's it looking like in Muthurwa? Heading towards town? Yes, Landings Road is busy all the way from City Stadium Roundabout, heading into Landings Road and to the junction with Ring Road Ngara and Haile Selassie Avenue. Thika Road has improved. Initially, the traffic was starting from Utalii. It's now come down into Utalii Drift. It's actually improving. There's nothing major to report on Jogoo Road apart from the usual bumps at Makadara. Nothing to report on Wayaki Way. It's also not looking so bad. If there's anything we ought to talk about, let us know. We'll tell everybody else. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
The conversation continues with our guests this morning, Dr. Dav Giatella, who's the Secretary General of the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Joa Bokanda, Pan-Africa Senior Advocacy Advisor at Christian Aid, and Reverend Elias Ogola, who is from the National Council of Churches of Kenya. CT, you had asked the question about planning for human health in human resource in healthcare.
Yes.
We train, we don't employ.
Well, my question really is, can we absorb everybody that we train? More specifically, do we need everybody who we train?
Let me give you, for example, with the doctors. The WHO recommendation for the doctor to the patient ratio is 1 to 1,000. But as you heard, it's Kenya, as of now, we have 1 to 16,000.
Sorry?
1 doctor to 16,000 in a population.
Which means you've answered my question. We need every doctor.
We need every doctor. And that's what was happening up to 2014, where every doctor who graduated from the university was being absorbed into facilities. But then I think when now it's with the budget is with the counties, then now the employment reduced drastically, up to about 70% in reduction. And then you look at the facilities or the hospitals. The hospitals are based into level 1, level 2, up to level 6, based on the service delivery. And the service delivery is done by the workforce, the personnel. So if you have a level 4 or a level 5, according to the regulation from the KMPDC, you need to have a particular number of doctors. Level 4 need to have at least 50 doctors. Level 5 need to have at least 70. But then you realize that in those particular public facilities, the numbers are, for example, level 4, you'll get 10 doctors. level 5, you'll get maybe 20 or 30. So with that, the service delivery will actually be hampered with.
And are the specialties also supposed to be represented at these various levels of hospitals?
Yes.
And we find that is lacking.
That is completely lacking. And it's lacking not that because they're not doctors who have graduated and are available in the market. It's because the budget constraints that are being said by the governors or by the ministry not to employ. So then the people end up not getting services in the hospitals when they go to get.
I need to ask this question. It's an unfair question, but maybe somebody can answer. What was the rationale behind devolving health?
The aspect of devolving health was to make, just the way of the evolution was to bring resources and everything to near the people.
Yeah, but even when it was under the national government, resources were still being brought to the people. So, is it to give this false sense of control?
Yes.
And yet there is none because you don't have the resources to actually run that particular.
I think the question should be: we devolved the functions. Did we devolve the resources? Did the resources actually leave the national government
and follow
the services? That should be the question.
And maybe another question would be: are the medical persons happier in the national government than they are happier with the devolved government?
I think that is.
Do you think if it is reverted, then all the doctors trained will be absorbed?
The thing is this: I think we've all seen how many industrial actions we've had in this country. In fact, latest being in Mombasa and in Taita Taveta and some other places, where a time has come whereby the county budgeting system make it sure that there are always perennial salary delays in the counties, and the counties are always citing exchequer for the delays. And that has made it every time we have the industrial actions, and therefore that hampers the service delivery. And then when we have a centralized human resource management, where today a governor will not wake up and dismiss or fire doctors, we've seen in Laikipia, we saw that in Kirinyaga, and it's a trend that has been happening. There's no objectivity in the way different governors are handling healthcare. And one thing that actually we saw recently during the BBI was that the governors were feeling if the the health workers in general are taken back to be managed centrally, then they're going to lose the power to hire and fire, the power to award the relatives and even the political leaders, fellow political leaders, and cronies. And that's what makes it very difficult for governors to want it to go back centrally. But I believe in terms of infrastructures, sometimes I call them white elephant projects, because you realize that very big hospitals are built in different parts of the country, but the service delivery in them is actually very limited because of the personnel, because of the drugs, even the diagnostic aspect, the labs.
They're not adequately resourced.
They're not adequately resourced.
Was there a sense, though, in devolving health? Because what is the whole rationale for devolution? Bringing services closer to the people.
Yes.
What services are people looking for on a regular basis? One of them is health.
But you see, Eric, were they receiving those services when health was under the national government? Are they receiving the same services or less now that it has been devolved?
Are the services closer to the people? Because that's the whole essence. Closer to the people.
Yes, but were they not close before?
No, they were not. There are very many who would argue that they were not. Yep. There are very many people who tell you that because of the national issue, the national government there are some areas that did not have the same access to healthcare than others. True.
That's true.
And devolution was meant now to come and close those gaps. So if it's at a local level, then the county government is able to offer the services closer to the people.
I think the challenge with...
What if it is to be, reverted to the older system, would it not be fair if maybe the government at the national level handles the personnel, but the other infrastructures are devolved so that the hospitals are built down there by the county governments, but the staffing is done at the national level?
How do you ensure that you, as the chief executive of a county who's been elected by the people, and you've said, I'm going to give you this service, how do you ensure that the national government actually gives you the personnel that you need?
That I don't think.
The same thing that we're having issues with. If it's money that they have an issue, just releasing money on time, Imagine sending workers to your
But
facilities.
Eric, how does the government then handle teachers, for instance?
School education is not devolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think the challenge we're having here is that even with the old system where healthcare was centralized, was the system working? And why was it not working? Over the years, we've seen increased privatization of healthcare. And this is where the problem is. You know, when I was growing up, whether you're rich or poor, we used to go to the same hospital. We used to access services. I went to that hospital last year. It's now the COVID center for Busia County. And you can't imagine what you see. You know, things used to work before. And actually, what COVID-19 has taught us is the power of public services. Everyone came back to the government. You know, the biggest private hospitals in this country were asking for a deposit of 650,000 for you to get admitted. Who can afford this? So the policy actors who are also have vested interests in these private hospitals, and they're in charge of making policy, you know, I think they're the ones who are ensuring that public services do not work for the people.
Brother here clearly is a conspiracy theorist.
Why?
Yes. Because if I ask him to provide evidence for what he has said, will he be able to? I mean, the thinking behind it one can understand, because how do you have a situation that is untenable being perpetuated continuously, and yet nothing seems to be done? But again, I'm going back to education. Yes, education wasn't devolved. What I was referring to with reference to education was how education works. Would you say that the government is able to provide sufficient teachers and to manage the process of ensuring that learners have ample teachers in the country as they should? Do you think they're doing a good job of it?
You see, I was trying to relate how the Teachers Service Commission works, and even how the Police Service Commission and even the Armed Forces, where every year we have particular number of recruitment, annual recruitment of teachers, annual recruitment of the police, annual recruitment of the armed forces. But in the healthcare, it has been left at the accreditation of the county governors, where a governor will feel that I do not have enough budget, or I'm beyond this particular budget, and I will work with those particular doctors I have, regardless whether services are being offered or not. Because when the governors or the political leaders have a problem, they will actually go to private facilities. So in an essence, the way the teachers and the way the police and are working is different. And that's why we're saying there's need to actually have a policy where there's annual recruitment of healthcare workers in the country based on what you've seen during this particular period of
So
COVID.
a health service commission.
We could have a health service commission, or we could have even a policy directive that, okay, it's in existence actually, that every level of facility need to have a particular number of doctors. But we need to have an enforcement structure or framework to ensure that at least actually every year there is an employment that is taking place. The numbers that are being employed downward. And this is something that I was putting down to NHIF, for example, that every Kenyan contributes mandatorily based on the new bill. But are you sure that once you contribute, if you go to facility A or B, are you going to get the services? Are you able to go complain to the NHIF that I don't want to contribute this month because the two facilities that were accredited to me, I didn't get services? So see, it's something that we have to look.
Yeah, but I think what I'm hearing is that there is need to review that those articles in the law and sections of the acts that stipulate the healthcare in the country, because if you go to the UK, for example, they have what is called the NHS.
Yes.
And NHS is working. What he was referring to, if anybody goes to the health facility, anybody, you will be in this room and the Prime Minister is in the other room. Because if healthcare policies are properly, done to be public friendly, then I think that will answer all the questions we are asking here. But again, I don't think the doctors are willing to go that low into accepting that they can't have their private healthcare services, because it has become something like, a huge, I don't even have the word, but it has become an enterprise for the health workers. So even when some of them are not, employed formally, they will still find their way in to have locums or even to have private entities. I'm not in any way suggesting that there should not be employment for everybody. But I think somebody mentioned the police. When the police are needed, a specific number is taken and all of them are absorbed. So I think, again, when we advocate for policy reviews on the healthcare, such should also be, tried if they can work. Why not train the people that we need, and why not absorb all that have been trained? Yeah.
Education. You're talking about the police service and education. There's a very strong, with the police, there's a clear security element that you understand, and that's really their purpose. But with education, there is a security element, but even more so with health.
Yeah.
So if you understand you can't devolve police services so that every county has their police force, that same thinking should also have been applied to the healthcare.
So what are we going to devolve? Because we'll take that argument into food security, and agriculture should not be devolved. We'll take that argument into water and water provision. It's national. It's a national security issue. So we cannot devolve water services. What are we going to devolve?
Actually, there are fundamental differences. Why I'm saying there are fundamental differences is this. Water services with the national government, with the county governments, people still do not get services. And it has nothing to do with the availability of water or the ability of people to do it. It's just willful negligence. But something like health, something that you can't afford to play around with, literally, okay? That's why I liken it to the police force or the police service. This is not something that there should be a debate about. It's something that the citizenry should take for granted, and it's something they should assume and accept or expect to actually receive. They should expect and accept to receive water. But the management of water cannot be equated with the same way as the management of health.
I agree with you, City. I'm just saying
Yes.
that, the argument that people had when they were seeking devolution was to have services delivered closer to them in manners in which they have also accountability, and you know who you can ask if you don't get. So when you elect a governor, when you elect your MCA, I want health, I want food security, these things that you're asking for. So health is big, it's national, it's all. Is there a way in which this can be balanced, where we say that, yes, we shall ensure that our local government is providing health? There's a national policy on health, and we know it's there in place. If it's a level 2 facility, it should have this. If it's a level 3, these are the minimum requirements. Level 4, 5, 6, like that. But then also, it is the job of the county governor to make sure that if it's health workforce is present.
What I'm saying is, 10 years of experimentation with the county system has shown us things. Now, should we not learn from what we have seen and said, this is what we said? Can we relook at this thing and find and find something that actually makes more sense and works? Because this one is what we thought. It's clearly not working.
And we also have case studies. If you go to Makueni, for example, how come it is working there and in other places it is not working? So this issue of goodwill, the issue of policy review, should be taken seriously, so that at least we don't leave the lives of Kenyans into the hands of a few people to determine whether they are going to have qualified doctors, enough doctors in their hospitals, and enough infrastructure for health. I think we just need to do what CT is saying, that we have experimented enough for more than 10 years now, and we are like going to go to another 10 years with the same experiment. How do we expect a different result using the same formula?
But Reverend, why is it working in Makueni? That's a question we should.
Because somebody somewhere took upon himself to enforce this. So if others have to be whipped to enforce it, then we have to have a policy that whips them, so that
what you're saying,
the doctors is representing, the health workers
devolution is not to blame.
It's not devolution to blame. No. What is to blame is the policy, the framework to enforce what is already in writing.
I think for me, it's a failure of leadership, because clearly in Makueni, the reason it's working is because there's leadership there. There's true leadership you have someone who believes in the power of public services. You have someone who believes in delivering services for the people.
But
do the rest of the leaders in the counties believe in the same? So when we're talking about policy review, is a policy the problem, or is the leadership the problem?
I think with devolution, if we just do a survey of the counties, as you say, Makueni, I think Nakuru, we realize the healthcare system is a bit different. They have what we call the hospital management fund, where the funds collected in a facility is ring-fenced to that particular hospital. It doesn't have to go to the national, to the county accounts, kitties. And that's why they've been working. But essentially, I think there's need to be an enforcement structure to the governors and the leadership of the counties to make actually things work. Because when a governor decides to do something, he doesn't care. Even if it report it to the president or to the courts, they don't care. And there's nothing that can be done. And that has been happening. And that attitude is what is making most of the things not able to work in the counties with the healthcare.
When you talk about the leadership gap, you are right. But have you considered perhaps that for many of our governors, this job of governors was actually beyond their capacity?
True.
That's true.
They got jobs they actually couldn't do.
They don't understand.
They don't even know how. And again, when you get into the office, what do you do first? If you can't put structures on how you are going to work, then how do you expect a miracle to happen? If you go to Makueni, for example, Governor Kivuta had to set some parameters, some structures, so that when he begins to work, then he knows what
there's a framework within
which he works. And then, if it is the issue of financial management, he has just given us an example that he had to set up a pool that is not interfered with by anybody, but is specific for healthcare. So that can be done, and if it is something to learn from, then the enforcement framework that we are talking about should have a leaf from what they are doing in Makueni, what they are doing in Nakuru.
How would this enforcement framework look like? You're talking about enforcing somebody else enforcing somebody who's been directly elected by the people and given the executive mandate. So what is it that you do? What stick is this that you would use?
Remove that power from them. It's very simple.
No. You don't remove the power from them. You curtail the power within a framework.
You see, there's one thing that is in the counties. In the counties, the governors can direct budgets anyhow. As much as we have the Public Finance Act to manage how they use the funds, the monies are meant for salaries can actually be directed to something else. The monies are meant for employment, promotions can do something else, which is not healthcare related. Because as I said earlier, for the governors, when there's an hospital that has been built and it looks beautiful, the White Elephant Project, then they want to say, we have an hospital, we're okay, yes. The governor has done this. So that hampers the service deliveries. But I think generally what will really help healthcare is to have an independent set of a structure to manage the human resource for health. Because even now, as we speak, we have interns, more than I think 300 or 400 of them, that are under the Ministry of Health that have not been paid for over 4 or 5 months. So it then the issue.
And this is from a national level.
This is now from ministry level, and then they'll cite the issues of the delayed payroll system, the delayed disbursement from the treasury, and there are even more who have not been posted. So it then means that we need just a structured system that ensures that the human resource, the doctors, the nurses, all these personnel are well handled and well posted, devoid of any emotion that could be from leaders. Yes, I think that will work.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. 1 hour is a short time, right? When you're having this conversation ought to continue in coming days, because we have to look back at there's something that COVID-19 has taught us. Have we taken the lessons? Are we starting to apply those lessons? And in very many ways, we're saying we're still talking about the lessons that we've learned, but application of the lessons is not yet to beginning. The conversation continues into the next hours. We've been live on KTN Home. We want to say goodbye to the audience on KTN Home. We continue the conversations on SpiceFM around the country. Dr. Davji Atela is the Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. The Reverend Elias Agola is from the National Council of Churches of Kenya. And Joab Okanda is a Pan-Africa Senior Advocacy Advisor at Christian Aid. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues into the next hour at 9 o'clock. Remember, our guest at 9 o'clock is the Chief Executive Officer of the Higher Education Loans Board. Good morning. Bwana.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is News 1 with Dennis Aseto. Health Tesfamtai Kagwe is expected to address the nation today. In his speech, it is expected that he will give statistics and the progress thus far when it comes to addressing COVID-19, which continues to cause havoc globally. Kenya has in the recent months been recording reduced COVID-19 numbers, which has been described as flattening the curve. The CS is also expected to address the nation over the protocols, where he might announce revised measures. The One Kenya Alliance members are expected to sign the coalition agreement in Nairobi any time from now. The coalition will be signing the coalition agreement as it prepares and organizes its house as we approach the August 9th general election. Party leaders Gideon Moi of KANU, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, NAK Kenya's Martha Karua and Cyrus Jirongo of United Democratic Party are expected to be present. This, as KANU chairman Gideon Moi confirmed that his party is still part of the One Kenya Alliance, hence denying reports of a fallout with his fellow co-principal Kalonzo Musyoka. This after KANU Secretary General Nick Salat hit out at Kalonzo over allegedly playing hardball on the impending Okoh Azimio Grand Coalition for the asking Moi to leave Okoh and the Wiper party leader. Moi, however, says that they as Okoh are still united and fielding talks with Azimio la Umoja to form the coalition ahead of the August polls. He said they will keep talking to interested parties until an amicable position has been attained in the ongoing talks. A lobby group is protesting alleged police brutality in the ongoing crackdown on border operators. The NGO, in a letter to the Inspector General of Police, is calling for restraint and a stop to the alleged violations of human rights by police, even as they enforce the nationwide operations in line with the directive issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday. President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the crackdown following an incident on the eve of the International Women's Day that saw a female motorist assaulted in the city. The organization said it had not only received complaints and reports from several operators, but also had documented evidence of acts of violence. Now, national and county governments have been urged to employ more agricultural extension officers if the country is to successfully tackle food insecurity. According to the Women Farmers Association of Kenya, lack of enough extension officers has left most rural farmers to apply trial and error on their farms, hence not getting maximum yields. Speaking at Holy Cross Catholic Church, Karapul grounds in Siaya, when rural women farmers presented a memorandum to the county government calling for more extension workers, Siaya branch chairperson Karen Dembo said a few of the rural farmers who are tech-savvy are now relying on the digital technology for information that helps them bridge the gap occasioned by the lack of extension officers. Siaya County Executive Committee member for Agriculture Elizabeth Odhiambo said the county government of Siaya was in the process of employing more extension officers to improve production. And the African Development Bank has approved a policy that will strengthen and bring transparency to the debt management among low-income countries. The board of the Pan-African lender approved the Sustainable Borrowing Policy, which targets recipients of the African Development Fund, the concessional window of AFDB Group. The fund caters to low-income and transnational countries on the continent. According to AFDB, the policy responds to a changing debt landscape in Africa, especially among the low-income countries. The Kenya Private Sector Alliance, in partnership with the stakeholders, have launched Mkenya Daima Initiative 2022, aimed at a peaceful election and smooth transition. Speaking in Nairobi during the launch, the Mkenya Daima Secretary Chairperson Vimal Shah said, Mkenya Daima 2022 will seek to build more on the Wajibu Wangu slogan, which calls upon all Kenyans to be responsible and choose the right leaders at every level. He said the election is a democratic process, and after the elections, we need to go back to work and celebrate Kenya for what it is and avoid looking at the negative side. And Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia has appointed Emil Nguza Arao as the new Director General for the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. The appointment of Arao, which is effective April 22nd, will see him succeed Gilbert Kibe, whose tenure at the helm of the Civil Aviation Regulator has come to an end. Arao is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the East African Community's Civil Aviation Safety and Security Oversight Agency. He has been credited for leading the agency to become the second regional safety oversight organization globally, according to a ranking by the International Civil Aviation Organization. The appointment of Arao comes as the Airports Council International awarded Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Moi International Airport Mombasa as best airports in Africa for their excellence in customer service. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Like, the roads are actually still looking not so bad. They're actually improving. We're getting out of the traffic hour. Langata Road getting towards Wilson Airport. Now the traffic is just around Nairobi West Estate and Nairobi Dam Estate, heading towards Wilson Airport into Raila Odinga Way. But Raila Odinga Way is still busy as you approach City Stadium, City Mortuary roundabout. Uhuru Highway is busy as you get into Haile Selassie Avenue, and Jogoo Road is only busy slightly as you approach City Stadium roundabout. Landis Road is busy as you come to Akulima Market. Thika Road has improved tremendously. Now the only traffic is at the interchange between Thika Road and Kiambu Road, but it's also really, really improving. How is it looking on Mombasa Road? It's been good today. The only slight issue here as you approach the old Mombasa Road and into the ICD, but everywhere else, it's moving. Ngong Road, not bad at all. If there's any incident that we ought to talk about and to alert everybody else, please tag us on Twitter at SpiceFMKE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. We broadcast around the country. 94.4 in Nairobi. Mombasa, it's 87.9. 102.5 in Kisumu. Nakuru, 96.0. Eldoret, 96.7. Nyeri, 90.9. And Malindi is 97.7. Also, we live stream the show every morning on YouTube and on Facebook. SpiceFM KE is our YouTube channel. SpiceFM KE is our Facebook page. We've been having a conversation about healthcare and what needs to happen, what lessons we need to learn and apply from COVID-19 in the country. We're going to shift this conversation now into education. Before our guest joins us, we will hear the day's proverb from CT.
Indeed. If you are patient in one moment of anger, you'll escape 100 days of sorrow.
If you're patient from one moment of anger,
one moment,
you will
escape 100 days of sorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Our guest is here. Ednah, please usher in the guest. Asante Sana. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Higher Education Loans Board. Before we introduce him as he settles down, we look back at that proverb again. If you do what, you shall do what?
If you are patient in one moment, not two, one moment of anger,
yes,
you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
So, get angry, relax first. Do not be hasty.
Don't act on your anger.
Yes.
Let the anger dissipate.
Because if you don't do that,
you'll be thinking with your anger,
yep,
and the consequences tend to be disastrous for
yes,
you.
Yes.
Yes.
It continues. Thank you very much for having us in the conversation. Charles Ringera is the Chief Executive Officer of the Higher Education Loans Board. And we talked about the Higher Education Loans Board established under an Act of Parliament. It has specific mandate. And we were having this conversation early in the week with a lawyer who's representing a number of people who've gone to court, and they're saying, you know what, there's something wrong with the act that establishes the Higher Education Loans Board because of some mandatory penalty that should be levied on people who default in payment. This ends up shooting the amount of money that then somebody is required to pay, which makes it even harder for somebody to pay, which ends up having problems for the Higher Education Loans Board. But also the conversation and information that is shared by the Higher Education Loans Board, is it sufficient? Does everybody understand their responsibilities when they take a loan? Charles Ringera, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, Latiff.
That is called the hot seat. And because you are the man who basically is facing heat from all quarters, we will not make this one hot for you today. We will just make it very hot. So we get to understand fully the Higher Education Loans Board. Let's start with the basics, okay? We know you're established under an Act of Parliament. Tell us why the Higher Education Loans Board was established, what it was called before, then we have this act, and what is your primary mandate?
Okay, thank you, Latiff, and I want to say good morning to everybody who is tuned in just to listen to a conversation of empowering dreams and also educating Kenyans of what we do. So, Higher Education Loans Board was established by an Act of Parliament on 7th of July 1995, which is called HELP Act Cap 213A. Hitherto, before that, as you're aware, we and the USCLS, University Student Loan Scheme, and that was started way back in 1952 by the colonial government. And mainly the guys who are going to, higher education then were going to India, were going to UK, were going to South Africa, Russia. Those are the guys who were enjoying that facility, but it was not a loan. Mm-hmm. And that went on until 1963 when we had our independence. And again, it was still pushed, but now there was, University of Dar es Salaam, and there was also Makerere, because the University of Nairobi had not come into play then. Mm. And that went on until 1974, when the government realized that, it was becoming very expensive for us to be able to fund higher education. And therefore, there was need for household income to start participating. And therefore, the boom was introduced. Mm-hmm. And people confused the boom with free money. And unfortunately, that boom and got very fine print that you're supposed to pay back. Mm. And I'm quoting 1974 because that's the time it became now a loan. And that went on until 1979. And I put 1979 as a key benchmark because in 1979 is the first time we started the ID system. So between 1974 and 1979, we are funding our names. Eric, Latiff. Mm. We didn't know what the name is. And that was done by a desk within Okoh House, Ministry of Education. And that went on until 1995 when government realized, this is building. We can't be able to break even. And we needed now to get a formalized way of how we can be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And come 1995, 7th of July, then HELP Act Cap 213A was then formalized by the National Assembly, and then it became a law. What is interesting about that act is that it said you will go back to 1974 and look for all those loans. So I think the people there then, maybe the ones who started like Nyegoti Chacha, I call him HELP 001, Professor Nyegoti Chacha Nyegoti, asked, how will you know Eric Latiff? Because Eric Latiff was only written Eric Latiff. We don't know the ID number, which is the unique identifier. They said, somehow go back, and then they asked, who has paid? They said, this list has paid. How much have they paid? That money which is there. Where is that money so that I can take it back again? They said, we will give you that money. And the help was started with 1 million Kenya shillings, which is the money they say was actually,
That was the seed.
That was the seed.
That's the money that had been paid by the people. And
this is the money which was within the Ministry of Education.
Education. Maybe Treasury had received more money. So nobody knows actually how much had been received.
But let me tell you,
yes.
I'm one of those people who received boom.
Yes.
And I began by working for the government as a teacher.
Yes.
They started deducting that money immediately.
Yes.
It was deducted continuously for 10 years, then they stopped.
Which period?
I graduated in 1981.
Yes.
And for 10 years up to 1991. After 91, they stopped deducting. So I assumed I'd paid it in full.
Hopefully. We need to
So
take
by the
your
time
ID.
Professor Chacha was being told now, start this thing in 1995.
Yes.
Maybe your name was there as Charles Muga. And
Yes.
Charles Muga has paid 5,000.
Yes.
Or maybe it was never there.
Correct. Maybe it was never there. Because there was no system of accountability
All
of
right.
who is paying and who is not paying.
Yes.
And therefore, we took over, I think, a debt of about 5 billion or thereabout. We were told these people
much?
have not yet paid, about 5 billion. These people are paid or they have not paid. And then government started with the annual estimate from Parliament.
Yes.
Now, those annual estimates from Parliament, which are approved through the normal budget process, includes A in A, that's appropriations in end, which is the recoveries you paid. So we will put that as part of the kitty, and then government will also put some seed, and then we'll put together, they will vote and say, this year, HELB should be able to take, this amount to take this number of students. Anyway, the students were not many. I mean, university's enrollment was what? Maybe 3,000 or somewhere there. So it was.
Remember, in those days, there was one university.
Correct. There.
There.
There
was the University
yes,
of Nairobi.
yes. So, but if you look at the strides we have made within the last 25 or thereabout years, we have taken about 1,232,000 students to university. Among those 1.2 million, government has spent upwards of 128.5 billion shillings in terms of educating those Kenyans. Today, we have about 500,000 students who are in school, and therefore we cannot be able to ask them, to repay because they need to complete school. We give them grace period, then they are called upon to start repaying. Among the paying category, about 480,000 have already cleared. They are due for repayment. We are very excited with about 234,000 who have cleared repaying the loans, and that's about 25.1 billion that has been able to revolve back again to the fund. We have about 238,000 carrying about 44 billion who continue to pay on a daily basis. And the ones who are in school are, as I said, 500,000, and they are carrying about 60 billion. And then we have challenges with about 109,000 who are carrying 10.5 billion. And they range into many category of years, maybe as we go along and be able to explain. Some of them went to school between 1974 and 1977. They are carrying about 50 million. And that accounts for about 3%. And they have not even made an effort. Of course, we know in that class, there are some who are dead.
But Arinjera, 1974, 79, they retired.
And even some are dead.
A good number are dead, yes. So how do you expect to recover money from these people?
Now, not to recover. Remember, we have an insurance scheme. So we have an internal insurance scheme. So the issue is, if we have, there are people coming forward and saying so and so is dead, then that will be good. Now, it is taking us a very long process for us to be able to know that. Because remember, the old debt, which are more than 10 years, we have given to private debt collectors. So it is these private debt collectors try to trace your village and look for your parents. And
then they come back with information.
But this guy died, I don't know when. So now they bring us that information. So that is how we are cleaning the book, which is a little bit difficult.
This 109,000 that you're saying are your current big issue.
Yes.
What are they? Are they defaulters?
They are defaulters because their loan has become due and they have not made any effort to repay.
Is there any specific timeline? Are you saying like they've defaulted for 5 years, or is it defaulted for their loan became due in January and they have not paid now? They have entered that list.
Correct. So between 1974, the ones who graduated between 1974 and 1977, and you must have seen the Auditor General speaking about this, which is between 45 years and 50 years since they graduated. We have about 3,533. Those ones are owing us about 50 million, which is 3% of the portfolio. Those who graduated between 1978 and 1982, which is 40 to 44 years, are 6,182. They are carrying 165 million.
Muga is among them, but they just go and check.
Muga is among them. I think I'll take the ID and the full names because there are times they were not using, the ID system. But you can see actually in that portfolio, the largest is the ones who graduated between 2013 and 2017, which means their loan is about 5 to 9 years old, which they're about 19,600, and they are carrying about 2.9 billion. In fact, I'm very excited about the ones who graduated between 2017 and 2022, which means their loan are quite young. They are below 5 years, but there are only 16,768 who are in default, and they are carrying about 2.2 billion. So that is how we stratify the data, so that then we can know where do we focus our effort and how do we, deliver, these 109 to be able to repay back.
And clearly, the focus is on the 2013 to 2017 cohort.
Yes,
because there are very many defaulters there.
Yes, which is about 3 billion.
I'm sure you've reached out to some of them. Are you able to establish why they're defaulting?
Yes, some of them, we have this migration out of the country. People looking for greener pastures, and they are no longer here. And that is why we have a very elaborate diaspora campaign, like this message now of 100% COVID waiver. We are taking it right into where there is high traffic of Kenyan areas. What do I mean? So at the end of the month, I leave for South Africa. It's estimated that about 50,000 Kenyans are in South Africa. In America, we expect that there are about 3 million Kenyans, and we have a very elaborate campaign within the entire of North America. Early in May, we will be in UK, again trying to sensitize them all the way up to Glasgow, because it's estimated about 200,000 Kenyans are in that market.
In that UK?
Yes, in that UK. But do you know there are quite a number of Kenyans also within EAC? Uganda, I think, is leading with about 200-300. But of course, Uganda is, because of the proximity. Some people, when they hear Kenya, they don't know whether they're in Uganda or they're in Kenya. So you'll have that kind of confusion. And we are funding quite a number of Kenyans also who are attending universities within East Africa. And Uganda is a leading destination for some of those Kenyans, yes.
The issues that we've had here on the show, and that's what we were discussing earlier in the week, is on loan falling due. Then there is the interest accrual, and there is the penalty. Just take us through that. From the moment, take us through the entire application process, the award of the loan, and then the repayment. What are the expectations in each stage?
Yeah, so some of us don't read the fine print.
Some.
Or all of us.
Let me ask a question. How many people read the fine print?
Yeah.
Only those who've written the fine print.
And they're really fine because they are tiny, almost microscopic. Anyway, please go on.
Ours, we have tried to make them at least size font 10, which means we hope that you'll be able to read. Again, they are online.
Okay.
So you can magnify if you so wish. So once you finish school, from 4, or basic education, and now you want to join university, you have already been placed by Kenya Universities and Collins Central Placement Service. You've either been placed into a TVET or a university. Once the TVET or university like UN has been told, Eric Latiff is joining you to do communication, you pull down that letter from the website of University of Nairobi, you get onto our website. If you think you need the loan, remember, we don't fund everybody. We fund the needy. It's only that it's shocking that almost everybody who has got a C+ and above becomes needy all of a sudden. Because out of 143,000, for example, last year who qualified to join university, we have applications upwards of 110,000. So, everybody is almost everybody is needy. So you then do the application. Before you do the application, we take you through an online literacy program for financial literacy program. And we communicate that this is a loan, it must be paid back, and quite a number of questions, budgeting process. Do you know this money that we have given you will be paid twice in the year? Do you know it should run you across the year? Do you know don't go into frivolous spending like most of us? That is maybe what we did, and that is why it becomes painful for us to be able to pay that money back. So we educate you, because this is the first time you have about $500 in your pocket, when you're in high school, you will hardly get that kind of lump sum, in your pocket. So we took upon ourselves to do online financial literacy program. Do you know you cannot be able to access the loan form until you do an exam on that online literacy program, and you must score 80+. If you don't score any of the 80+, you repeat again, the exam until you actually are able to achieve that. Once you pass that financial literacy education program, we then give you the loan forms again online. So we ask for all manner of data, including your grandmother, your grandfather, for obvious reasons. There's a reason why you do that. Because we are looking at your background. Are you needy? And we apply something called means test instrument to look at the neediness. And that is how our loans range between the orphan of the most orphans will get upwards of 60,000 and a bursary of 8,000. That is 68,000. And people like you guys, your children will get about 37,000. I'm already sizing you from that means testing, instrument.
Brother Ngira here is being biased.
No, I'm not being biased.
He has profiled us, and now he's using that false profiling to carry on.
We can tell you that system of yours is faulty.
It is not faulty because it is the information you give us, collaborated by your guarantor, your parent, your pastor or Kathy, and also certified by a commissioner of votes. Why do you go for certification of a commission of votes? So that in case you are lying on the information you give us, you'll be in for perjury. So those are some of the mechanisms we have put in place. In fact, we have even brought an whistleblower program. What does a whistleblower program do? It helps us to say, you can whistleblow on you and say this guy is cheating, the father is not dead. Because we have many of those children who are killing their parents for purposes of them, benefiting
from this.
Yeah, from the loan scheme. And therefore, after you feel all that, we do an assessment. First of all, remember, we will have been voted by Parliament and told this year we have been told to use 14.2 billion shillings to fund students. Now, Parliament, unfortunately, does not tell you fund 10 students.
No.
It is you now to see the applications you have received, the guys who are ongoing, the guys who are getting off, and you balance the portfolio. That is how the averages now start, differing. Like, for example, this year, I can tell you for free, we ran out of budget. There is about 75,000, both in TVET and universities, who we can't fund. And you can actually see they come from very awkward economic backgrounds. They are needy. And there's nothing we can be able to do. And that is why efforts like the ones we are doing on 100% COVID waiver are coming into place to see whether we can be able to build some liquidity, because clearly Treasury has said under supplementary budget they cannot be able to afford anything further. So we want to see whether we can get some money beyond the 14.2 billion that has been voted by Parliament, to help these kids who are outside there. So we'll then fund them. And once you get on our loan program, we will never leave you. But you must always express your interest in terms of the loan.
So you have to keep reapplying
every year, because your father can hit a sport pesa jackpot.
Yeah, just like that.
So do you need our support anymore?
Or go to KEMSA.
Yeah, or KEMSA. You can be walking along that street and then you land into so you no longer need our support. So you must express your interest again. But again, we have now brought a very interesting and very easy method. For subsequent applications, now they're on mobile phone.
Okay.
They say, yes, I'm still in school, I need. Remember also, at times we may not know how long you'll be in school. One, you can be hit by a medical case.
Yeah.
Two, you can be doing engineering, which is 5 years. Three, you can be doing medicine, which is 6 years. So again, that is why it is important for you to keep on expressing your interest, because a medicine student in year 5, in year 6, so that we can know exactly where you are. But once we onboard you, then we will not leave you until you finish your course. Now, once your course is over, and course is run between 4 years to 7 years, for doctors, we'll give you 1 year grace period for you to settle in life.
Okay.
Not to look for a job. I think that's the biggest confusion. To settle in life, you couldn't be married, or you could marry a rich person. That is part of settling in life.
Right.
And the Bible says, your people will be my people, your debts will be my debts. So, you can help one another in terms of sorting out yourself through a marriage process.
In this 1 year.
Yes, in this 1 year. Do you know, actually, we are participating in a lot of pre-weddings, just to also put our case and say, as you marry this girl, she's carrying this kind of a burden. So when you are doing fundraising for these pre-weddings, please be aware. This is a kind of liability which is coming on board. And let's say on shared prosperity. So you are going to prosper. So can we share, in this prosperity that we are looking at?
So 1 year grace period.
1 year grace period.
After which
now your loan becomes due.
It doesn't matter whether you struck a jackpot, whether you got married, whether you got a job, your loan becomes due.
It becomes due.
What if my circumstances have not changed at all?
And that is why we say, help cares, help listens, come we talk.
But does someone have to come physically?
No, because we have all these channels that we have now introduced. We have almost a 24-hour service contact center, which you can call in.
You know why I asked the question?
Yes.
Was when we had the lawyer here, this lawyer who is representing people who had benefited from the help loan system, was a constant comment about non-communication. He put forward the argument that letters had been written to help and the responses were not forthcoming until somebody physically went to the offices. That is why I asked the question.
Did he show you the letter?
Oh, no. He did not show us anything.
So that we can only count those as rumors.
We can. And I'm actually asking so that you can add
You're aware of this particular case, aren't you? The case by the various students who've gone to court saying, well, we'd like some review of the law.
Yes.
You're aware of this case?
No, we have just heard about it. There are others. Parliamentarians also are reviewing the act. One of it is to reduce interest rates. The other one is to say that I cannot deny anybody a loan.
Yep.
And of course, I deny somebody a loan because I can see you are able. Comparing you and him, I can see you are able because these are the funds which are there. Now, there is also another confusion that we have. They think that HELB has got unlimited, yes. And yet, our money is voted by Parliament. Those parliamentarians are the ones who vote in our money. In fact, it is so disheartening that when I appear in Parliament, I'm told, why aren't you funding these students and they are coming to bother us under CDF? I say, but it is the money you gave me. In that money that you voted for me, you told me also you are not going to give me 100%. You will only give me 60%.
Of the money which was voted?
Yes. Exchequer gives us 60%. For example, let me give you the business case for this year. We will receive, the voted money is 15.8 billion, including salaries for my staff. Loans to students will be 14.5 billion. Now, that money, Exchequer will give me 11 billion. I must go out there and look for 5 billion through the people who benefited from the scheme.
So then, how is it an allocation when it is not given to you in full?
Because it must be voted in Parliament. Remember, even loan recoveries is government money.
Yes, it is.
So that is why it must be voted in Parliament. Otherwise, you will be spending government money which has not been voted by the National Assembly.
What I'm actually asking is, because I find this a bit confusing. Yeah? The government understands the limitations that you have. Parliament votes in whatever amount. What guides this vote?
So, and this is a national budgeting process. This is a national budgeting process. So they say education envelope, this year, for example, the education envelope is 515 billion, which is 22% of the national budget. And education, by the way, if you're aware, it is the largest funded vote.
Yep.
Now, in that 515 billion, TSC has taken 300 billion. So what is left for TVET, university, for TVET and university and basic is about 200 billion, about 215 billion.
Yes.
Now remember, in basic education, there are 18 million learners.
Yep.
In higher education, where we are about 1.2 million learners. So university education this year has been funded at 109 billion of the 515. The other balance between 215 and 109 that is going to basic. For purposes of free secondary, free primary, or all that money. Now, for us, in the 109 billion, this is how government works. Don't imagine the entire 109 billion is coming from Exchequer.
It is not.
Part of it is called A in A, appropriations in aid. So universities are supposed to charge school fees. The 16,000 they have been complaining about is low.
Right.
So when they take the 16,000, it is what forms about 60 billion they are supposed to raise. Government will give in 43 billion for university education, and universities are supposed to raise the other. For HELB will be given 11 billion out of that 109, and we are supposed to raise A in A as part of our revenue
contribution
generation of about 33%, which is about 5 billion. Now, when people don't pay, and there are supposed to be time to pay, then it means I have a problem with my A&A. I will not be able to collect. A case in point, last year, we are targeting to collect 5 billion. COVID comes in. People start losing jobs, and they stop repaying the loans. I lost in between 1 billion from loan recoveries.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went to Exchequer. Exchequer said corporations are not paying taxes. So we go for a supplementary budget. Supplementary budget hits me with a 2.2 billion budget cut.
Wow.
And the problem is, I have already allocated this money to the student.
Wow.
They say the student is not in school. Then we hear that universities are saying, no, we are doing online learning.
So you should still pay.
Yeah, people must pay school fees. We are doing online learning. The student then comes to help and says, why aren't you giving me money? And yet you allocated me 40,000. I say, because I got a budget cut. Which student understand a budget cut because of COVID? That is 2020, 2021. 2019, 2020, I lost 2.8 billion from Exchequer. They had promised to give me 11.3 billion. The last quarter, they said, COVID has hit us, so we make an adjustment, 2.85 billion. Between COVID period, I've actually lost on loan recoveries, on COVID, on Exchequer, I've lost 6 billion shillings. So how much is 6 billion? And you can now see where pressure is building on us. This 75,000 we can't fund is actually, when you look at it, it is those budget cuts and also loan repayment that we actually lost.
Wow. Let's take a break.
Even as lawyers will argue that they shouldn't pay, we have a challenge. Where do we then raise money for the future generation? That is a conversation.
Where does the money come from?
Yes, yes.
It's 24 minutes to 10. This is the conversation that we're having on the Higher Education Loans Board and how it operates, where it is right now in terms of being able to finance those that it has approved, whose loans it has approved already, and then those who are applying. Charles Ringera is the CEO of the Higher Education Loans Board. He's here with us in the studio. We are having this conversation, but let's take this quick break, take a look at the weather and traffic. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Dare for fast relief from fever? Take Cipladon. The fizz works to relieve pain and fever faster.
Available at all good pharmacies and now at Chandarana supermarkets. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Nairobi is actually warming up. It's going to be a mostly cloudy day today, but temperatures rising to 28 and dropping to 16. Mombasa, mostly sunny day at 32, dropping to 25 later. Malindi, 27, mostly sunny day at 31 and dropping to 25. Nyeri, sunny day at 28 and dropping to 11. Nakuru, sunny day at 30, dropping to 13. Kisumu, highs of 32 and lows of 18. Kakamega, highs of 34 and lows of 14. And Eldoret, highs of 28, lows of 13. Kampala, Uganda, sunny day, highs of 29 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam, light rains at 32, dropping to 27. Kinshasa, DRC, sunny day at 32, dropping to 22. Lagos, Nigeria, sunny day at 34, dropping to 27. Johannesburg, South Africa, mostly cloudy day at 33 and dropping to 14. Beijing, China, sunny day 13. It's going to be dropping to 16 later on this evening. London, sunny day at 12 and lows of 9, while Paris will have a sunny day at 13 and lows of 8.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the envoys says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's all good apart from the area between Nyayo Stadium and South Sea, which is a pileup of traffic, and also Wilson Airport heading towards town on Langata Road up to Mbagathi Way roundabout. As well as Muthurwa, this is the area on just heading towards Wakulima Market. It's also quite busy. Thika Road is now moving very smoothly. Kiambu Road only at the junction into Thika Road. That's where the problems are. The rest of the roads are looking not so bad right now. Mombasa Road is actually busy around Imara Daima, but then you understand that's because of the construction that's ongoing, because the same situation is seen on Mombasa Road at Mlolongo and around the SGR. Anything else that we need to talk about, please let us know on Twitter, SpiceFM KE.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Penalties and waivers. The CEO, Charles Ringera, is with us in the studio. You're explaining to us the constraints that you have. There's allocation from the government, then there's appropriation in aid, which is recoveries from those who owe you the money. You've had issues during COVID, budget cuts at the government level, and then job losses and therefore loss of income at your stakeholders level. So they're not repaying. Does the law limit your sources of money?
No, the law does not limit, and I actually wanted to come to that because one of, if you look at the LBACT Section 6P, it talks about external resource mobilization outside the traditional loan repayment and of course exchequer. That had not been operationalized until 2013. That's the time I was actually joining the board. And one of the key aspects that the board then that recruited me was looking at is how do we get into this space of external resource mobilization. And we came up with a strategy of being able to resource mobilize. And although I even say even government is resource mobilization, because you go to talk a lot with government, you go to talk with parliament, you go to lobby. And actually, you can see our lobbying effort. We have increased exchequer allocation from 2.7 billion, which was in 2012, to the current exchequer level of 11.3 billion. We have improved loan recoveries from 2.7 billion to this year about 5 billion that we'll be looking at. So again, that is part of resource mobilization. But then they say a child will be educated by the community. That is where the community I came from. So we then went back to the community and said, how do we, because there are all these children who can go to school, and we come together and pull resources that we can be able to take more children to university and higher education. And our strategy focused on, first of all, were the foundations, corporate foundations.
Yes.
The corporate themselves, whether you have a foundation or you don't have a foundation. We then went to development partners. We went to individuals actually who had benefited from help. Like if you have already repaid and overpaid, you don't have to ask for a refund. You can actually sign back and say, take this money to educate a girl child from my place.
Well, I observed what you did. You talked about having overpaid, and then you looked at me when you talked about not asking for a refund. I'm going to ask for a refund.
No, we actually entitle you to a refund.
Yeah.
But then in the refund form, we have said, do you want to contribute?
Would you
might
like
have 10,000, but you want to contribute 2,000, and we give you back. Now, that was part of our strategy for resource mobilization. And I'm happy to report then we also went to counties and constituencies. Between 2013 and to date, we have been able to generate about 1.55 billion from good Kenyans. A lawyer walked into office the other day and gave us 1 million shillings. And he said, you don't know what help did for me. Please do for somebody else what you did for me. Here is my $1 million bob, and don't declare my name anywhere.
Okay.
So we have those kind of situations. Now, the problem with this also external resource mobilization, it was also equally hit by COVID. For example, the counties that are currently banking with us, we have 7 counties which are banking with us. Kakamega is the leading. We have about 110 million from Kakamega. We have about 68 million from Busia. We have Bomet. We have Taita Taveta. All these counties, we have, they are banking with us. They were also hit by extra kakat, which means they couldn't be able to support their.
Please explain
their
banking
students.
with you.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means that you can bring money to us and we manage for you on a revolving basis. So we have a help for Kakamega. But then remember, Kakamega has no muscle to be able to recover the money to make it a revolving fund. That was a commitment from Oparanya when he got in. And I'm happy to report that within the period we have worked with Kakamega County, today we have 128 million from Kakamega that actually done good financial intervention to about 33,000 Kakamegans. If there's a one like
explain to me how this works.
It's like what we were discussing with Kwale and asking, so how does Kwale support its university students?
Yes.
So this is the kind of thing.
This is the kind of thing, but then the one of Kwale is called a sinking fund.
Explain it, please.
Because it does not revolve. It does not help future generations. So once Muvulia leaves, the next governor, we don't know what his philosophy will be. But the one of Kakamega, you find that it revolves. So whether Oparanya leaves or whoever who comes into place.
So every year you're receiving money.
Then we are recovering. In fact, today it's Kakamega, so we have already recovered about 5 million. We have taken it back to the kitty.
So essentially, the county gives you money.
Yes.
Okay, and it's meant for educating students in that county.
Correct.
But what you do, you don't just pay fees. You ensure that it pays what it's supposed to pay for, but you also recover.
We recover for them because they have no muscle to recover. The counties have no muscle.
And when you recover, you don't give back the money to the county.
If they want, they can take it.
But it's revolving within.
It is revolving within. Actually, the intention of Oparanya when he was starting was saying, once I hit 500 million, I'm done with you. Let it now revolve on itself.
Right.
And then the county also looks at, where do I have deficiencies? Is it medical doctors? Is it engineers? Is it agricultural extension officers? So they make a deliberate move. For example, Wycliffe Oparanya is a very interesting, kind of planner. He is building a hospital. The large hospital there. But he realized he has no workers.
Yes.
We have a kitty for healthcare workers training. It's called Afya Elimu. It is funded hugely by USAID. USAID has actually given us upwards of 700 million to be able to take to the nurses. So Oparanya said, no, but I want to ring fence my own nurses. Give them Afya Elimu. I'm also coming under Afya Elimu Kakamega, and I want my nurses, and I board them. They must work in this hospital.
Okay.
So as he is building, he is also building skills, human resources. So by the time he is opening the hospital, the skills are also ready to join there. They are boarded. They can't work anywhere else until they pay off.
The money is recovered.
Yes, the money is recovered. Yes.
Okay. So that is one way.
Eric, just pause for a second.
Ask.
Do all governors in Kenya understand what you've just told us?
Have you done a pitch to all of them?
So I will not talk about understanding. I'll talk about that we have reached to all the governors. Not once, twice. Understanding is another
issue altogether.
Debate that we will bring on board.
I phrased it wrongly.
Yes.
I should have. Eric's question was more valid. Have you pitched it to them?
Correct. We have pitched to all the governors. Okay. We have pitched to all the parliamentarians. And yet, out of the 290 constituencies, we only have 15 who are onboarded. Last week I was in Parliament and I talked to the Health Committee of Parliament. And they told me, maybe you are pitching in the wrong site. So I asked him, sir, where do I pitch? He told me, you see the new parliament when it comes into place, do a conference for us. We'll be able then to understand. Now you know what a conference means.
Yes, of course, you take us to Mombasa. But then, how have you been pitching?
We've been pitching individually, directly.
So you go to an MP in their office.
So remember, every of my staff, I have about 320 members of staff. They come from somewhere. So every staff that we have, every board member that we have is a resource mobilization officer or manager.
Okay.
So I know when I went to go to whichever constituency, I have somebody who can be able to make me reach there. And again, even by virtue of using the office of the CEO help, it is possible for me to be able to visit, most of these guys.
Yes.
And we pitch a lot at Council of Governors. And I want to thank Honorable Oparanya again. When he was there, because we were able to make a presentation to all of them at one single shot, and he was giving testimony of what he has experienced with us.
How many counties have actually?
We have 7 counties.
7 counties, 15 constituencies.
15 constituencies.
How many constituencies in, for example, Kakamega?
None in Kakamega. So you can see diversity of...
So there's 7 counties. The constituencies are not necessarily from these 7 counties?
No.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Chuka Igamba Ngombe. Yet Chuka County is not there. Chuka Igamba Ngombe as a constituency is there.
Yeah, there's no
but
Chuka County.
The Rakanidi is not there. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. There's corporate CSR. There's development partners. There's looking at refunds and asking for people to contribute. There's pitching to individuals and saying, you know what, how about you contribute this and say ring fence it into this. There is the other funds drives that you do. Of all this, how much have you been able to raise?
1.55 billion between 2013 and 2021. Or where we are 2022. We are at 1.55 billion.
Are you allowed to receive endowments from external bodies? I heard you mention USAID.
Yes.
Are you allowed to?
Yes, we are allowed to receive that. Even Ratansi, which is an endowment fund,
Yes.
Ratansi has already banked with us also.
Yes. The reason I'm asking this question is, I am thinking of some of the very renowned universities in the world and some of the progress that they have made. A lot of it is not government money, it's endowments.
Correct.
Students who went to that school, who went to that university, benefited, and someone builds a library, someone does something or the other. How strong has your pitch been to people who have benefited from help?
Very strong, and that's why I'm saying we call it help alumni. There is no university with the level of alumni we have. We have 1.23 million alumni.
Those are many people.
And we have written personalized letters to them. Why we have not written to you? Because we don't have your address. Because, when you went to school, you wrote P.O. Box 10 Kamagambo. Now you no longer live there. So that's the only connection you have. We never had emails for your time. We didn't have cell phones during your time. So those are some of the difficulties that we have. And yet, the ones we have now, emails or correct contact telephones, are very young. Those ones cannot even come back to give you anything. The people I'm targeting now is you guys. But then I don't have your address. Of that database, I don't have your address. Because that is where I should actually be pitching under.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Corporates, because corporates have all this CSR, there are all these organizations that are looking into education. So, for example, Equity, it's doing whatever it's doing with secondary and university. And the other corporates, how strong is the response that you're receiving from the corporates?
I would say the most successful, the blue chips, corporates, are not very successful with us because they are looking for their white-labeled product.
Okay.
Equity's wings to fly does not want to compete with helps. So it becomes very difficult. But when you look at mid corporates, we are banking with Family Bank. They have really supported us. I&M Bank, Standard Chartered. Where they don't have strong foundations, you realize they would want to work with us.
Right.
The ones with the strong foundations, the KCBs, the Equities, you find that they want to do it. And then again, it depends with their pillars because they drive various pillars in different times. But what we have encouraged, even the KCBs and the Equities who are big in this business, is let them also think, this kid they funded at high school, where is he going to go post high school? So that then they can carry them through. I'm happy to report that conversation seems to have hit a good sense of conversation with people like Family Bank Foundation. And Family Bank Group Foundation is already working with us in terms of transition. When they come to higher education, how do we then work with them? In the multilateral development partners, we are very excited with USAID. They are part and parcel of the support group. But also World Bank has come in just lately. But the way they come in, it's not to give you cash. They are helping us to do a product that we want to put in the market of issuing a corporate social board. So we'll be issuing an edu board. And we are targeting the proceeds of the edu board to come and finance laptop program for university students. Why laptops? Online learning is now the way to go. I mean, quite a number of them are learning out of bars. Do you know why they go to the bar? Because they get free Wi-Fi. And for you to get a free Wi-Fi in a bar, for example, you must be able to buy something. I don't know what they buy, but they are able to get Wi-Fi. But then they access class through phones. We think if we can be able to give them devices like laptops or iPad or whatever, bigger ones, then they can attend the class in a more comfortable way. And even when they go back to school, remember, because of social distance, a class that used to have 200 people, for example, is now being told on-site, in person, 100. Then the others can be around the campus, connected into the classroom. The best way they can be able to connect into the classroom is for them to have devices. So I've worked out, if I have 600,000 enrolled in the universities, 20% of that, we have done some research, I've got a gadget or the other. So I need about 500,000 gadgets to be able to take to the universities at an average cost of about 40,000 or thereabout for a reasonable laptop. Then I will require upwards of about 12 billion to be able to do this. So those are the numbers that we will be advertising for this social board that will be. I'm happy that Treasury has already given an approval. So we are going through the motions to be able to raise. So that's another area where I've been told you can go out there and raise funds outside the exchequer and then be able to make intermediation to the university students.
Do you work with professional fundraisers?
Yes. So there is a group which you know called Kenya Association of Professional Fundraisers, KAPF. We actually have members. There is also another one called East African Association of Grant Makers. We are also members of that. By the way, I will excite you and to also join there. And do you know also blood donation is part of fundraising?
Yes.
Yes.
And I got that from the former, chair of Blood Bank and Blood Link called Muriuki. And it's actually Joe Muriuki who made us, get into that space. And in that conversation, during the annual seminar or the coffee, whatever events that they do, we actually discuss what is cutting edge now, what is being discussed in the donor world. Who are the various donors? Where do we pitch? If you're looking for education, where do we pitch? And they have a library of the areas you can actually be able to hit. In fact, one of the funders that we have is from Wall Street, is called DDD from New York. We actually got him through that conversation, and they gave us about 25 million.
Two questions as we conclude the conversation. One of them is coming from, I think, is somebody who's already one of your customers. Watuambie kwa nini hata saa hii first years hatujaipata help na year one imeisha.
So there are two dimensions to that discussion. Of course, I can now say everybody who we process their loan as of December, when we close the portal, we are paid 100% unless they have not opened. However, as I told you, we ran out of budget sometimes in January. So I have 75,000 applications valued at about 3.1 billion. I have no money. And that is why campaigns like what we are doing on the penalty amnesty is to see whether we can actually increase the allocation that was given by government to see whether it can go to these very needy ones. We are very worried as a board because chances are that if we don't actually fund these ones, they may actually go out of school.
University.
Next year doesn't look any better. I've just gotten my estimate for next year. Government has cut down our budget by about 300 million. So enrollment is increasing, demand is increasing, money is coming down. And that is why initiatives like these ones, like issuance of our board, is part and parcel of what we are doing to make liquidity in our education laws board much better than it is now.
Should the law be amended to remove that waiver, that 5,000 shillings
penalty?
Actually the truth, nobody pays that 5,000. It is debited to your account, but in the process of you paying, we bring a waiver. Because the waiver is 100%, it removes everything.
Okay.
In fact, if you come and have a conversation with us, even in that penalty that you have, maybe 100,000, even without this COVID waiver, I can actually, that's why you're saying, help listens, help cares, come we talk. You tell me what programs that you have. And anyway, why did you get into even into a penalty? Did you know, and that is part of our financial literacy, did you know that if you actually, when your account becomes due and you pay something small, even the airtime that you normally use in a day, and you pay something small, the system gets confused and it actually does not charge you any penalty. That is the literature. That is the education that we have to do to our customers.
Kumi inatosha.
Exactly.
To avoid the 5,000.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Charles, for joining us. Charles Ngera is the CEO of the Higher Education Loans Board. We'll have him again because these are interesting conversations. And next time, people will call and ask you questions. CT, take us away to the weekend with the Western Sahara proverb.
Yes. If you are patient in a moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow.
If you are patient in the moment of anger,
in one moment of anger, you will escape
100 days of sorrow. Ednah, umesikia hiyo? Ednah is our producer. Have a lovely weekend, folks. We'll see you here again on Monday. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Eric Thawri is the new president of the Law Society of Kenya after emerging victorious in the Thursday election.